Keith, how are you, my man?
Today is the best day of my life, man. How you doing?
Same. It's the best day of my life. I hope if you're watching this, it is equally amazing for you. Today's going to be a banger as always. That's what these episodes are. They're always bangers. I can hear a little echo. Can y'all hear that?
I don't hear it.
Okay, cool. Let me know in the chat if you're here, if you can hear an echo. If not, we'll try to fix it. But where should we start, Keith? We got news stories. We got stuff to talk about. We got XRP, one of your favorite topics. That's what we're talking about today. So I'll let you start with the news, though, Keith.
Yeah, today a lot of news. I'm honestly just like it's coming in as we go live. These past few days in general, it's just been a lot of news going on in the crypto blockchain world, and especially where that is meeting institutional capital, Wall Street, and so on. So, um, I kid you not, as we're going live here, I'm seeing that JP Morgan has done some sort of announcement where they have said that they are going to be launching their own tokenization platform in 2026.
Wow.
So that's obviously fascinating. We've heard very similar moves from BlackRock itself, right? The largest asset manager in the world versus one of the larger banks. So that's one big thing. We've got also Visa yesterday, I believe it was, saying that they're going to accept payments in 4 stablecoins across 4 different blockchains. Big thing that they cited for the reason for doing this is that they've seen stablecoin payments increasing a lot. In the fourth quarter, I guess, of last year. Doesn't make sense. In the fourth quarter, they said that stablecoin linked Visa card spend quadrupled when compared to a year ago. So they're adding support for 4 stablecoins on 4 blockchains, representing 2 different currencies that we can adopt and convert to over 25 traditional fiat currencies. So this came out during their earnings call on Tuesday, actually, from Visa.
Cool.
And
That's
then
sweet.
Tether just became the 17th largest holder of U.S. treasuries. And I'm going to pull it up so you guys can see a little bit of what that looks like. And this is something that's been a major theme as we have, I believe, stablecoins in general make up an even larger portion of U.S. Treasury holders. They are even bigger all around. But just Tether alone now has become the 17th largest. So quickly show you that here graphically, because once again, this makes Tether a larger holder than many different countries. So let's look at this graphic really quick.
Let's say what up to people in the chat. We got RD here. We got
what's up?
Noli, Akin. How y'all doing?
Welcome in, folks. So quickly here, you can see that Tether is a larger holder of treasuries than South Korea, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Germany. Okay. And this is actually coming from the CEO himself.
Wow. That's crazy.
Did you have nuts, man?
I got a new story here, but now I can't find it. It's pissing me off. So I saw this tweet yesterday, and now it's been taken down, it seems like. But it was my boy Charles Hoskinson replying to one of the major banks gave exclusivity to stable coins to Solana. And then basically someone was replying back to that announcement, basically saying, wait till they find out that it basically goes down a lot. And like how that will be a detrimental thing to the structure of their business. And then Charles Hoskinson just replied back to that with this meme right here. I'll share it with you because I think it'll make complete sense when I do. So he just replied back with like this. So basically saying that that wouldn't happen on Cardano. So like
show us the OG tweet real quick.
I can't. It's gone.
Oh
yeah. So they probably gotten shit for something, or they weren't supposed to tweet it. Who knows? They're probably getting backlash for it. But basically, the whole purpose of this is saying that a topic that you and I have discussed at length before, where the narratives and the current numbers of everything really don't matter that much at the end of the day because the decisions haven't really been made yet. And so counting the numbers now is not really all that relevant. But I thought that was funny. And now I can't find the tweet. Can we trust Tether? I'll let Keith address that. Do you think we can trust Tether?
No.
No. But they're huge, man, and everyone in the finance world really, really respects them, like, so much, and I understand that, like, numbers are big and they make the most, was it revenue or profit per employee by a very wide margin, like, it's crazy the difference, and yeah, I wonder how much of that is just early movers advantage and how much of this the profits will get harder and harder to come by as there's more and more adoption of this and there's more competitors there. But the whole Tether thing just, yeah, it's a very interesting topic. I would love to get people from their team on here to ask them more specific questions as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome for sure. Um, I'm gonna share a little bit of
Yeah, get
something that
into it.
happened. So Saudi Arabia has this conference going on, and I guess it happened already, and there was some just talk going on. I wanted to share some of Larry Fink's uh, words from there. Can you guys hear this?
And digitization. How quickly should they think about digitizing their own currency? What does that mean for the role of the dollar? If every currency digitizes and we have, what does that mean for bank payments? What does that mean for the payment companies like MasterCard and Visa? All these are being questioned right now. I think we spend so much time talking about AI. We're not spending enough time talking about how quickly we're going to tokenize every financial asset and the opportunity we're going to have a digital wallet and moving, ETFs and other things through a digital wallet. And I think that's going to happen worldwide very rapidly. And I think most countries are ill-prepared for that and underappreciate how technology is changing that. Not unlike how technology is changing AI and other things. It will be changing the technology around the plumbing of finance.
Man, that's kind of messed up because they were the same people basically saying that Bitcoin and crypto is a scam, and now they're like, "Oh, people are so far behind." Yeah, you told us to be, bro.
Yeah, man. It's fascinating to see the flip flop for sure. It started happening a little bit before this administration, but now it's
Yes.
really complete flip flop. Tokenization, blockchain is the future. And Larry Fink, he calls himself out at the very least. He'll call
Yes.
himself out on that. He did used to say those things. Jamie Dimon, I think he's still a little bit. He's not taking as much responsibility for the things that he said in the past, but yeah, for sure. I think this is an interesting time. He even is worth saying to him that it's more important than AI. He tried to walk it back there, but he basically was saying that.
Yeah, well, that's what, I would argue that it probably is because without AI, sorry, without blockchain, AI can't really function in a remotely safe way that doesn't impact humans in a very negative way. And that's it, man. I think we saw innovation across the board with the internet in so many different sectors, and in finance really didn't get that modernization. It really didn't. It's still pretty primitive in terms of how it functions, and there's so many flaws with it, how long it takes to get paid, and even some of the most innovative players, like let's say Stripe, when I get paid from someone who I send them an invoice and then they pay with their credit card, I don't get my money till like a week later. Like, that's crazy, dude.
Right.
Like, that's so stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Like, if you know that they're good for it and they pay the credit card and it goes through, why doesn't that money come to me almost instantly? Like, it should. And it eventually, if things go the way they can, it would.
100%, man. And the big talk on the scene now is this concept of agentic commerce and having AIs being able to kind of pay for things on its own and have their own essentially economy.
Mhm.
And listen, you don't have to have blockchain for that, but it certainly would make things very effective and could speed up a lot of processes regarding the actual settlement of these kinds of payments in a very quick manner. Coinbase earlier this year announced their X402 standard for stablecoin payments, and then Google recently, about a month ago now, released their A2P or AP2, one of those two, where it's agent to agent payments. And so one of them is a stablecoin standard, the other one is an agent to agent standard, and they have kind of partnered up with each other to make sure that stablecoins can be used
Got it.
to pay agents.
That's
Each other
fascinating.
they can pay each other. So
I was seeing, I want you to get back to the news here, but I got one more thing I wanted to say
mhm.
before I forget, is I was watching an interview yesterday with your boy Pomp and my boy, or our boy Tom Lee, two of my
Mhm.
favorite characters in this space. And Tom Lee was sourcing some stats from, I think it was the University of Michigan study. It's one of the most popular studies that people use for polling in terms of like how the general public is feeling about certain things. And what I found was the most shocking out of all of that was how politically charged people's opinions are on the economy. So basically, like how if the people who were Democratic, they predicted that like the inflation would be so staggeringly high in the next coming years because they hate Trump, right? And so instantly they're like, oh, like the tariffs are going to torch them, right? Like, it's so crazy how biased people are on irrelevant, like not connected things, but we make the connections in our own mind. So I found that really fascinating. I recommend watching that. It was on Pomp's podcast. He had Tom Lee on there. Tom Lee also predicted that he still is holding true that he thinks Bitcoin touches 200K before the end of the year. And he still thinks that ETH gets to 10 to 12K.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have been hearing that from him, and that's crazy. It's a big thing to kind of stake yourself on at this time. And I will say, guys, last time around, when you get these types of headlines, like I'm sorry, but that's a really bad sign. It was the same thing last cycle. It was laser eyes till we hit 100K, and we're gonna hit 100K Bitcoin. We're gonna hit 100K Bitcoin, and it's just like we never hit 100K Bitcoin by a lot.
Yeah.
So when you start seeing those kinds of I'm just gonna be honest, like it's not really a good sign. And these were all the credible people at the time. You know, everyone who was, even the senators, you know, it was like 100K Bitcoin. Obviously, they don't know what they're talking about,
but and is this time different? It probably won't be, but for this one in particular, I will say that once the legislation formally gets put into place, there's a lot of money sidelined. There's also a few other things that we've mentioned before where a lot of money may come into circulation that may flow into these spaces. And why, and we should actually do a full episode on this in the future in terms of why an altcoin season can happen and how that actually happens, because it spills over so fast. And when people make obscene amounts of money, they just go higher up the risk curve because it's no longer risky to them because they've made the money. And then also people come in who are trying to chase that and they try to be like, oh my God, am I too late for this? And then it can happen really, really fast. So like maybe I'm insane, but I don't think those predictions are crazy. Like I think that they're fairly accurate.
I agree. I just like to put it out there.
No, definitely. No, and that's good. That's good. Yes.
Sign. But I do agree it could happen like that.
Tom's he's obviously super bull, and he kind of now has to be because of how much they've bet their entire farm on Ethereum as an asset class. And he's really pushing the whole, and maybe he actually knows this firsthand, but he's basically saying in every podcast interview that Wall Street is almost exclusively using Ethereum. And he really tries to make that connection of like the Wall Street's blockchain. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But what other news do you got for me?
In fact, it's going to tie right into what you just said, because there's a competitor on the block who thinks that they are Wall Street's blockchain. So let's hear what Brad Garlinghouse had to say at this same conference with Fundstrat's Tom Lee.
Let's go. Demonstrating that we don't have a global consensus about crypto. Even in this conversation, and I agree that it still is early, partly because there is not a global consensus about some of these things. I agree. And I think some of the use cases, we're still extremely early in terms of scaled use cases. Circle is certainly one example that has started to have a scaled use case around a stablecoin. But I think the crypto industry, I agree, the next 16 years, I think will be better than the last 16 years, because you'll finally see applications emerging that up until now have just been the store of value story or speculation. You're demonstrating.
I love that. And as a consumer app guy like myself, people always think like, okay, the legacy incumbents from the previous generations of winners are just going to come into this and modernize it. I don't know how much that will happen. Like there, of course, will be some that survive, but look at the internet shift, right? There was a ton of companies that everyone thought they were impenetrable, right? But they got so big in a previous system where bureaucracy was just so large and so many people didn't want to adapt or lose their jobs and they just couldn't compete. So with how fast this stuff moves, I think that a lot of crypto native companies are going to come in and offer some pretty innovative things that will now technically be feasible and people will actually want to do it. And I think that will really usher in the next wave of like unicorn companies.
For sure, man. And touching on what he said there, that I think was funny at the very least, was he kind of is ragging on Bitcoin as just a store of value. And it'll be interesting to see how all of this continues to evolve. The tokenization of payments, tokenization of securities, the tokenization of other assets like futures and options and things of that nature, which options are securities. I think will be fascinating to see how blockchain potentially kind of plays a role in all of that if we see public types of blockchains participating in that. And Brad Garlinghouse also pointing out the stablecoin use case and all of the moves that they're making around stablecoins. That is going to be probably the thing that we really see first. And we've already seen the CFTC earlier this year launch an initiative to where stablecoins and other forms of collateral, something they said like the other tokenized forms of collateral, can be used as collateral in futures types of derivatives types of transactions. And anyways, there's a sandbox experiment that they're doing around that, but that's what they're moving toward. So there's a ton of other things that have kind of been happening in the XRP ecosystem that we'll dive into today on like how XRP and Ripple are potentially going to play a role in that future.
Yeah, and I think they definitely will. And I think that's why so many people are captivated by the whole XRP movement. And I want to ask you a lot of specific questions because I know that you know a ton. But on the final note for the Tom Lee interview that I mentioned before, he also said a really good point that I love is that there's a lot of like almost like cultism in terms of the crypto communities. People are like, it's either all or nothing. And the point that he made that I loved was that you're betting on the infrastructure at large, right? And it's not going to be one company that wins. It's not going to be one chain that wins, right? It's going to be a bunch of stuff that plays different roles. There's so many things that go on within our economy that people aren't privy to how this happens currently. And so it's like brand new infrastructure. And because it's across such a large quantity of transactions and movements and things going on, there can be so many winners here, which I think is really important. And we try to stress that on our show too. But what's the next news story? I think we've got 2 more.
I think I'll save those for later because it'll be relevant to the stuff we talk about. But I got to move into some of the memes today.
Hit me with it.
Also, one other news thing is that Trump just met with China, and apparently that went really well. They're backing the escalations back, at least, and we're back to where we were pre-October. Just wanted to point that out.
Man, it's so funny whenever they meet and they shake hands, and Trump just adds so much commentary. He's like, "Got a great relationship. Always had a great relationship. We're really tight." It's like, and then, but I find it crazy how like Trump should learn some whatever language he speaks, and he should learn some English, man. Like it's crazy how they need interpreters all the time.
Yeah. It's actually interesting. It's almost like a little bit of a point. I mean, the U.S. president never has to know any language, unfortunately.
Yes.
But for China, it's almost like he's like, yeah, I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, probably that's true. He might even know it, and he's purposely not doing it.
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, here's a meme from my XRP. This is against XRP people, but just bear with me because this is actually kind of funny.
Who wants to be friends? I don't know.
The average XRP
This is a Chase Bank. I mean, it's like you're seeing a future historical monument before your eyes. Imagine sending money to your cousin in Uruguay. What do you have to do? You have to wait 16 days. You have to pay a processing fee. You have to pay the currency exchange fee. Or you can just send them XRP. Your grandma owns it. Your sister owns it. Your garbage man owns it. And you still don't own it? What are you going to buy? Bitcoin at $125,000? Or you can buy XRP at 3. Oh.
Okay, so a couple of things that I just want to touch on with this. Like, XRP people are like, this is going to take over all of the whole entire global financial system, right? So he pointed that out with the whole, like, you see this as like a historical monument, Chase Bank. And then the second thing being, he's almost kind of, he's not directly pointing at it, but like the market cap discussion, because there's a lot of, I'm just gonna be honest, there's a bell curve thing here with the XRP community. There's the people that like are just like, oh, it's clearly like been a part of BlackRock and therefore like buy it, it's gonna go up to $1,000. And then there's the people that are like really spending time looking into the research and like what is actually occurring behind the scenes, what is this system that they're developing and why. But anyways, $3 versus $120,000. It's like, okay, but there's some nuances to how to look at the valuation of these things besides just that. And we had a huge clap back in the comments last episode we did about XRP because of the market cap discussion. So the idea was that, oh, well, you can't just take the circulating supply times the price and give it the market cap. Okay, fine. if this XRP asset has a different use case, then yes, you would want to look at the volume of that asset, and the liquidity of that asset is the way to look at what is the value of it versus just the circulating supply times the price. If that is how we're looking at the asset and how it's being used, right? But we're not seeing that today. So chill out with
speculative.
That.
Yeah.
Yes, like yes, I understand, but that's not what's happening at the moment.
It's crazy how people. Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it.
People will fight like what if statements as if they're facts. It's like, well, if that does happen, then yes, it is a fact. But there's this huge if, right? Like there's so much of that. What I always am wondering this because I'm not in the XRP army yet. That's what y'all call yourself, right?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't loop me in with those people.
So is that what they? I thought you were a big XRP head. Am I wrong in that?
Listen. I am a grounded understander
Okay.
of what it is that Ripple is trying to accomplish.
Got it. Okay. Right. Yes, that's a good distinction. Okay, but is it XRP Army? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How did they captivate non-crypto people so well? Because they're the only one that I've seen that's like, it's a massive community. They're absurdly loyal. And I think some of them are ignorant, and that actually plays to their conviction, because if they knew more, they wouldn't be as convicted in their beliefs. How did they do that?
Yeah, dude. It's crazy because this to me kind of plays into the conspiracy, because it's like from when I found this stuff in 2017, it was already a conspiracy, but like no one knew about any of this stuff. So how is it already a conspiracy that like this is going to take over the global financial system? So that kind of plays into it to me. Like you had these riddlers, right, that were already around at that time.
We talked about that.
And so it's like, okay, maybe there was a campaign in place to like get people who don't know anything about crypto to pay attention and want to own the asset and push it on and cheer it on. But to your point, because there's a real meme thing here, like there's a real cultural phenomenon about this for sure. And I think it's just an accumulation of the past 20 plus years where we've seen this digital surveillance state come into place, and people who are watching that and saying, what is the end goal of this? What is the end result of this? And people who see Ripple and XRP are saying, oh, like maybe this is the answer to like how this is going to happen, and how the average person gets incentivized to participate in a global surveillance state of all money. So instead of trying to fight the banks and break the banks down, it's like, no, we're just going to have an immutable ledger where all transactions are happening in the background. On these banks are now public. Now all of those transactions are public, right? So there's a lot of just like anyone who's a financial conspiracy theorist is going to move directly towards Ripple and XRP.
Of course. And especially because the people who are involved, as we've talked about many times before, right? Massive names who have like more power than anything, right? And RD said, because XRP has utility. And I actually wanted to bring that up again. I brought this up twice. And so like that's the whole thing is, of course, it can have utility if used in the way that like people are proposing that it will be used. And if it gets adopted, and sure, they have a great chance of solidifying that and making it take place because of who's involved, et cetera, how long they've been around, the things they've overcome, all that stuff. But it's still like a big if statement. A lot of crypto projects are very much if, right? Like if this goes well, then it has utility, right? Because a lot of it is like pure projection. So yeah, I'm excited. We're going to walk through more of XRP. You're going to explain it to everyone more. And then also the ETFs that are involved, because I think that's a very important part that maybe from an outsider perspective gets slept on a little bit, and they don't realize how significant that can really be. So is there more news stories or more memes you want to show?
I want to finish this one off because there's something that I have as a unique insight on all this stuff.
Oh, instead I'm going to worship a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto who no one knows who he is. Brad Garlinghouse is smoking hot. I feel like I'm crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I know I'm not crazy because I've seen XRP go from 10 cents to 50 cents to $1 to $2 and now to $3. And I haven't sold any. I'm going to watch this thing go from $3 to 50 to 100 to 1,000. And what am I going to do? I'm going to buy this bank and I'm going to call it XRP.
So that's the final piece of this cultural thing here, is that like these people will not sell, right? They're going to hold this thing until it goes up to those types of prices. And that's another just like interesting piece. Like I think we talked about this before. It's like if they've gone through getting sued and the price going down to 17 cents and they're still going to stick around after that, then guess what? Like these people are going to hold on for dear life. They really believe that the price of this asset is going to go to $1,000. The last thing that I just wanted to say about this, because I thought this was kind of ironic, and I don't even think he knows this, maybe, or I would have pointed it out if I were him. But this bank is in the middle of Wynwood. Actually posted this, and there's a Ripple office right across from that building.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I don't know if he knew that or not, but this is Chase, and this is a Ripple office.
Wow. Maybe he was sent by Ripple.
I live there. Maybe, dude. Maybe there's something deeper to that I actually just don't know.
Yeah. Dang, who knows? But that's
so anyways.
Yeah, I will. The conviction that people have for Ripple is huge. And I think a lot of people who are still here and still buying or still holding the project that they've invested themselves into, they are that passionate about, and they do have that kind of conviction. And so I think things can go pretty crazy pretty quickly. Because like, let's say even in the Cardano community, right? People are like, oh, well, if it gets to $1, like I'm going to sell. I think people forget how quickly their new baseline gets set when things move, right? And so we've been fatigued by how much the prices haven't moved in a very long time. But when we do get that rapid euphoria price movement, your baseline gets completely changed, right? Like, and you get fatigued by the numbers within days. It's crazy when it happens, but it does. And so I do think that things can go pretty mental here. And I think XRP will do very well for a lot of the things that we're talking about.
Love it, man. Absolutely. And then final thing, this one's at you, Ben. This meme is at you.
Okay, let's go. I'm ready.
Oh, dude, my computer is not gonna let me share right now.
I'm gonna pull it up.
No, I got it.
Cool.
It's just acting funny. All right. So this Kalshi actually tweeted this themselves.
Nice.
They said, just Nvidia hit a $5 trillion market cap yesterday, by the way. So it's now worth more than 2 Canadas.
That's crazy. And also, I think that it should be worth more, man. Canada, like we were actually talking about this producer Kurt, who's also on the line with us here. We were talking about the state of Canada yesterday, and Prof G was talking about Canada, and he's like, Canada's never looked better here. Like Canada looks really good. I'm like, you clearly don't live here because it does not look good, bro. Like, because of course he's going to say that because he knows that his audience is largely left leaning. And Canada's largely left-leaning. And so from a media perspective, it makes total sense to say that, right? Because most people won't like ask further questions, but Canada is in shambles right now, dude. So that's not shocking. I think Nvidia's price will probably continue to go up, unfortunately, because of how reliant everyone in AI is on them. That's another topic for another day. But yeah, that's crazy to see. And that there's a lot of stats like that when it comes to Canada and comparing them to other things. For a population standpoint, it was the case, I don't know if it still is, but California has more people than all of Canada, which is crazy to think about.
Wow.
Yeah,
it is crazy.
And here we are,
a bunch of trees, man.
And here we are thinking that we can like defend ourselves economically. It's like, brother, come on. No, you cannot. But it is what it is.
There was some other memes in there I'm gonna have to pull it right back up real quick. But also, like, to be clear, everyone, like, okay, Nvidia's worth 2 times the GDP of Canada. Okay, so it's not that, like, literally it's more revenue would be a more like thing to look at if you wanted to try to compare the size, but it's just funny. So this is the world economy. This is Nvidia.
That's so good.
And I think there was one other thing I saw in here.
The fights between people online, between Canadians and Americans, is always so funny. And there's also a huge group of Canadians that want to be in America or want to be American, and it's just so silly and so dumb. I honestly think that Canada in my lifetime will probably merge with America.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
Out of necessity, dude. Because go ahead.
When Trump started saying that they're going to be the 51st state, I was like, honestly,
it would make sense.
It probably would be a good deal. Like,
economically, it would probably make sense. And I just think that things will get so bad here that even these very liberal people right now will probably be like, we need to do this. And so a producer Kurt's in the background because he's very liberal. He's saying like, not all of us at Memes and Markets think that. It's not a political thing. I don't think that because I would vote right that I think that that's going to happen. I really don't give a shit. I'm very centrist. I don't care about the left or the right. I just think that things are going to get really bad in this country where the people who are very much like, screw America or like Canada first, elbows up, like they're eventually going to be like, I can't eat. Like, let's figure this out. You know what I mean? So we're at an inflection point with Canada where I think Carney will honestly do a pretty decent job here. He's just got a very shitty hand that he's going to have to get very creative with. And I don't know if people will give him the time to even do the things necessary to make things better, because there's just been crap piled on crap. And I think that, I think all of North America will probably become one state, to be honest. But
wow. Well,
who knows? We'll see.
Well, I guess North America. Yeah, North America. I can see it. South America, they've got like wars on every border. But anyways, let's talk about some of the main topics for today now.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. You take me through it.
Cool. So the topic really here is like, yes, XRP, Wall Street taking it mainstream, but it's also a matter of like Wall Street digging their hands deep into the crypto pockets, okay, and trying to extract and get as much as they can and participate and be as big of a piece of it as they can. And so let's start off with a little bit of like the fact that this year we've had this big push towards ETFs, crypto ETFs in particular. So I'm going to walk through what ETFs are, the different types of ETFs, and why in crypto this is a little bit different and a bigger deal. This week alone, we had Litecoin, HBAR ETFs getting passed. And in general, like ETFs and crypto, spot ETFs and crypto being passed have completely changed, honestly, the dynamics of this market, if we're being honest. Things have completely changed since then. And it is possible that we're in a whole new paradigm because of that. So
can you explain like what a spot ETF is versus?
Yeah. So let's even back up a little bit more than that. An ETF is an exchange traded fund, which is an investment vehicle that tracks the performance of an underlying asset, an index, or a basket of assets. These trade on stock exchanges just like individual stocks would, but this makes them available to both retail and institutional investors as a basket of different assets.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason that these exist is to give investors exposure to markets without having to directly go out and own and hold an asset. So for instance, you have gold ETFs, you have S&P 500 ETFs, and or crypto ETFs, where when you buy the ETF, you don't have to go out there and like hold gold. Okay, you can just buy an ETF and someone else is holding it for you. Same thing for crypto. So retail investors buy these and use these for convenience and diversification, whereas institutions will use them for liquidity and regulatory compliance. So the big thing is as an institution, I might not be allowed to do certain things. I might not be able to just go buy a property, right, and manage a property. It's like, no, I have rules that say I need to buy an ETF that manages a basket of different properties, and I don't have to participate in that process, right? So real estate ETFs are another big thing for that reason as well. So it solves a really big problem, this concept of an ETF. It makes investing much more simple. It also aggregates liquidity into one place, and it also has a little bit more transparency. So what are crypto ETFs? All right, so crypto ETFs work in essentially the same kind of a way. They give investors exposure to cryptocurrencies without requiring the owner to custody or directly hold the tokens. And now in crypto, this is a really big deal because this is the first time that we really have an asset that exists online, especially that you can actually take custody of yourself. Like normally, if you buy a stock, guess what? That stock is not even really held by the broker, but it's actually held by a custodian.
Which is crazy.
Yes. And the broker will say, oh, by the way, this person owns that stock. They're just there to kind of like put the name on it. Okay. So crypto ETFs are very similar. So, it obfuscates that holder relationship in a way. So this is a major bridge between traditional finance and digital assets. This crypto ETFs allow institutions like pension funds, hedge funds, wealth managers, all to allocate to crypto within the existing frameworks that they already exist in. They don't have to come up with new rules around how to go out and buy crypto. So ETFs become an on-ramp for all institutional money to flow into the digital asset space. Now, as you were asking, what is a spot ETF? Okay, because we've had futures ETFs for a long time, and we've had futures for crypto for quite some time. I think the first Bitcoin futures contract was launched in 2017. Okay, so first, there's the futures market itself and futures contracts. Futures contracts are essentially, they look a lot like options. They're derivative contracts where you can essentially bet on the price of something in the future. Okay. And instead of having to physically take possession of this asset, you can just buy a contract. Okay. That says like, hey, if the price goes up in between here and there, then you pay me the difference between that, because someone else is on the other side selling that contract. And you can also sell contracts. If the price goes down, you'll profit from it. So you need a futures contract first. And then what happens is you have these futures ETFs. So these ETFs that go out and essentially buy these futures contracts that, by the way, are settled in cash. Okay. So these futures contracts initially, before in the past, were used to settle commodities. And I mean, they're still used to settle commodities today, but the bigger use of futures and the more liquid markets of futures are called financial futures. And financial futures are futures on things like bonds, indexes like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, and those are settled in cash. Therefore, you never actually go out, for instance, and buy S&P 500 when you're using these futures contracts. And it's the same thing for crypto. They're not actually going out and buying XRP or Bitcoin with these futures contracts, but futures ETFs instead are going out and you're buying essentially, you're investing into a manager who's going to go out and buy these futures contracts on your behalf, but that does not affect the underlying price of these assets per se, because these ETF providers are not going out and buying the asset. So now for a spot ETFs are physically backed. They actually hold the underlying asset when they go out and buy on your behalf as an ETF provider.
Super important distinction.
Yes. And so as an example, spot Bitcoin ETFs in 2024 brought massive inflows because investors can now buy real Bitcoin exposure in a compliant way. So once again, for a spot ETF, the ETF providers have to actually go out into the market, usually over these OTC, over-the-counter trading desks, and actually buy and take physical possession of the Bitcoin. Cool.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And that's important to know, because obviously that's going to have a bigger impact on everything, because you physically need the asset, right? And so supply and demand, that's pretty standard things, right? So if you're actually acquiring the asset, that makes a big difference. And then before you move on, because you got a lot more here, I really want to stress the psychology side of the on-ramp analogy that you made, right? Where it's bringing the non-crypto people to the crypto world. When you make it this easy for them to hold it and their money person can just go do it, and they're going to make the money that I think they will, that's what turns everyone into a crypto person, right? The only reason why rich people don't like crypto yet is because they don't understand the game. It's too risky for them to play and they can't do it easily. This solves all of that for them, right? And then when they look at their portfolio at the end of the year and the crypto picks of the ETFs did way better than everything else, then they care. Then they pay attention. Then they look into it. They try to understand more. And then that's how the whole world turns into crypto people. And they don't even realize it just becomes finance, right? Finance is crypto.
Yeah, you're so right about that. This is for sure a very pivotal moment. Because like you're saying, people won't even know. This is crazy.
No,
they won't even know.
They will have no clue. They'll think it's like a stock, right? They'll think it's the same thing.
Oh man, that's so wild. Yep. It's just a stock that's available in their Charles Schwab account.
It's a character.
XRP thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, what does it do? I don't fucking know. What does Nvidia do? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Wow.
So
some good questions from Artie. Yeah.
Yeah, Artie's always brings amazing questions. So great question. Are ETFs only one equity / asset? You can take that, Keith.
Yeah. So there's so many different types of ETFs. So some of them are one asset and some of them are multiple assets or baskets of assets. So so there's that in one thing. And then there's also active versus passive ETFs. So active ETFs are, for instance, when you're buying a fund that is actually actively going out and trading assets on your behalf. A lot of what Cathie Wood does, for instance, I believe are active ETFs. Yeah, the ARK family. Versus, for instance, Invesco and like BlackRock funds, they're more passive ETFs where they just buy the S&P 500, right, for you. So anyways, yeah. So for instance, there's like GLD as an ETF, and that ETF is only buying gold. You're just buying gold. But then you have QQQ, which is a passive but basket of the NASDAQ 100, right? So hopefully that answered the question.
Totally. And Bud has a question here. So is it possible that with XRP adoption, it doesn't go well? What downsides could there be? How would you respond to that, Keith?
I mean, yeah. A lot of bad things can happen. Um, let's say, for instance, they achieve their goal of like being a neutral bridge asset around the world, and that sends the price of this thing up to like $1,000. Okay, because every country in the world is using it versus having used Nostra Vostra accounts. Well, in that scenario, um, there's just a lot of room for a lot of manipulation that can happen. And I think that could be where you have a sort of black swan event is we're taking all the issues that we have in our current financial system and we're bringing them right over. Like what we were just talking about around like derivatives. Like it's kind of ironic that you have to have a futures contract before you get a futures ETF. And then by the time you get a futures ETF, then you can get a spot ETF. And then you'll get options on top of that spot ETF. And now we're right back to where we were as far as like the games that can be played and the issues that can occur.
Just start all over again. Yeah, and it's crazy how America really became the financial powerhouse of the world by giving all of these products and services around these financial instruments that really incentivize speculation and gambling, like more or less realistically. Like a lot of what's propped up in the financial markets is all just shit that no one understands because the people who conduct these massive trades or bets, they're using it under the sophistication of all these names and classifications of products. But really, those were just created to make people want to use the USD more on a global scale, right? Like Wall Street, why it's so significant is because they basically ushered in this way to make money, and we're very reliant on it now. So that's a very good point that you made.
Yeah, man. Like the one thing that could be a new thing that comes from it all is like if we actually start using these blockchain platforms to create the transparency that doesn't exist at the moment, right? So the biggest example of this was 2021 and the whole Robinhood phenomenon, right? Where the issue is there was like more assets, more of the stock was sold short than existed, I believe was the problem.
Was this with GameStop?
Yeah, GameStop, the GameStop Robinhood phenomenon, where they ended up like halting trading.
Do you think that was? Yeah, that was. Sorry to cut you off. That shit was crazy because that was the first time, and we actually want to do a full episode on the whole growth of meme stocks and where GameStop is and all that stuff. But this was the first time. We should explain that for people who didn't understand what was going on. So that got discovered by some Reddit community. It was called something value. What was it called again?
Oh, I don't know. I just thought it was Wall Street Bets.
Wall Street Bets, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Okay.
I think it was. But there was people in there. One of the guys' name was like Insane Value or something like that. And then Roaring Kitty, I think, was the main guy. But basically, this was this community of solo investors that saw that these massive institutions were just shorting, which is betting on the failure of GameStop, right? And there's also, speaking to these instruments that these massive financial institutions do, is crazy. Like, I'm sure that you've noticed that a lot of major restaurant chains have been getting acquired by these funds, right? And then they essentially conspire to, how do I say this correctly? I also don't want to misspeak, but basically people benefit on the failure of things because they bet on it going down along the way. And so they essentially purposely tank something to then make money on both sides. And so it's just it's a slippery slope. It's very much a mess in a lot of things. And there's so many angles to this, but for GameStop, they saw that these companies were betting on the fact that it was going down. And so for that to happen, the stock actually has to go down for it to come through and for them to win money, right? And so when a short squeeze takes place is when enough people have bet that it's going to go down. Eventually, they have to pay up if the bet doesn't hit, more or less. And because people kept buying and acquiring more GameStop, it was squeezing them. So the price was just going up and up and up until someone was willing to sell. And so theoretically, it could have gone up forever if people weren't willing to sell. And then they stopped the trading, so then it came crashing back down, basically. I'm sure I missed a ton of that, Keith, but
yeah. And I think the most important thing to understand about the squeeze is that, for instance, I'm short the asset. And so as the price goes up, eventually I need to close my position because I'm going further and further in the red as the position goes up.
Yes.
And so that means that I need to buy back what I have now sold short.
Yes.
And so that buying back that I have to do and that continues to happen as the price goes higher because more and more people are going to have to buy back because their pockets aren't deep enough.
Mm-hmm.
You also now create this cascading effect of the price going higher because now I have to buy. All these people are having to buy back.
Exactly.
And that's called a short squeeze.
Yes, exactly. 100%. And that was, GameStop was really one of the first ones that really did that. And there was the whole Robinhood thing, which made me think of that. So what was your point more on Robinhood?
Yeah. So one of the biggest issues that ended up happening here was that there was more shares being sold short than what actually existed in the first place. And so
Wow.
that's why they had to stop all of the trading, because they were like, oh, like this isn't like this is just some funny business happening here. And so when that occurred, my immediate thing, and anyone who was in blockchain at the time was like, oh, well, like, first off, halting trading does not exist in our world. You can't do that in the decentralized world.
Hmm.
And the second thing is, well, if we had this information on chain, then you wouldn't have been able to go short anymore. There would have been like a smart contract that said, nope, you can't do that. And so the point was just that, like, there's an opportunity. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with all this. And I'm sure the things that can go wrong with blockchain and distributed ledger technology will go wrong. But there's also some opportunities to plug some of those holes in the systems that we have today. So it's just something to think about as well. Is creating that greater level of transparency could fix some of the issues. We'll just have new ones.
Yeah, of course. You don't solve problems, you trade them. And I will say with two things that came to mind. One was, again, referencing the interview with Tom Lee and Pomp, where he basically had said where the prediction markets have become a very big thing, like Poly Market, Kalshi, whatever. And then he basically was like, okay, so then where does the line get created for, say, like insider trading or insider information? Like, at what point is it legal or illegal? And then he said that it'd be pretty easy to track if it was an insider. If it's done in a blockchain capacity, it'd be very easy to find if they did that and penalize them accordingly. And if you weren't breaking any rules and you can prove that, like, it wouldn't matter if like the authorities knew who you were. You wouldn't really care unless you were doing something shady, which is a big thing. And I think why people really gravitated towards the GameStop thing, and it really ushered in, I would say, a big shift in terms of us all waking up in terms of how rigged these games are. Like, I think for me, that was the one where I always knew it kind of, but that really got me asking questions where I was like, oh my God, you guys are like the bullies that took away the ball because you were losing. You know what I mean? It's like you played the younger kids, you're losing the game now, you're finally getting like losing, and then instead you say, oh, I'm going home and I'm taking the ball with me. Like that's what that felt like to me. And I think that really woke a lot of people up, and that's really started the culture of, I think, meme stocks in general. And then that spilled over into meme coins because they saw that if we rallied together, we had more power as a unit than we do independently. And so, yeah, we're going to do a meme stocks and a meme coin episodes in the future, because I love that shit, because that's pure psychology.
Yes, it's a lot of fun for sure. And I remember just in that moment, like, to me and a lot of people, I'm sure, it was like, this is the obvious turning point for our generation on, like, looking at, oh, this is actually a real problem. Like, we actually can use blockchain to solve these issues.
Yes.
I just want to take a quick moment to say we have a little bit of an influx of people here. And if you are enjoying this, definitely hit that subscribe button, because we're going live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern, and hit that notification bell so that you make sure you know when we're going live. And Ben, as you always say, we don't spam this channel. So, like, whenever we're going live, that's the only time that you're actually going to get a notification. So
yes,
definitely make sure that you're subscribing. If you're listening to me, I'm talking to you. Click that subscribe button.
Yes, that's a great reminder, Keith. I always forget to do that. But yes, that's a deliberate decision that we've made, where we have safeguarded what that subscription and hitting that bell really means. You're only going to get notified when we're live. And when you're live, you can come in and you can actually ask us questions as you see them popping up on the screen. These are real people. We're talking to all you guys, and we love it so much when y'all are here live. So great point. We got a few more comments here. So if it can happen, it will happen. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
that's very common. And then
there was one other thing that Akin said that I wanted to go back to. He said,
totally.
We can answer this first. I was nowhere near crypto or finance, and I heard about it. It was mainstream. Yeah, exactly. It was a crazy time. And yet for all of us on the inside, it was just like, oh, like, this is our moment to say that, like, blockchain is a real use case, real thing. Akin said, futures have actual non-speculative uses. Yeah, for sure. But with that, there's a difference between financial futures and regular futures. Now, so there's futures, for instance, in the commodities world, where you have gold, silver, agricultural things and stuff of that nature. And in those situations, yeah, there is physical settlement of those assets, of those commodities, to be fair. And so that is where it all started. But what happened was like, investors said, oh, well, we could do this with S&P 500 and bonds too, and just trade rates up and down, and like profit on the speculation of that as well. And those are cash settled bets. And those, in my eyes, I mean, yes, it's hedging and there's a reason to hedge. You're protecting some of your investors, for instance, on your other platforms if you're a market maker. But that is a speculative use case of futures. So I just wanted to point out the differences there.
That's a really good point. And most of these instruments and products that have been created in the finance world, like there is some practical utility to some of them, and some of them, like, they do make sense. It's just that they get bigger and bigger and bigger and piled on, and then it just becomes a bigger house of cards that can create an issue when people are being increasingly more speculative. And as we talked about before, just from psychology perspective, is that the more strapped people are, the more that people are afraid, the more that people take risk and they gamble because they feel it's their only way out. And so then that leads to some very crazy things that shift slowly. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens when things become normalized. Like, look at gambling, for example. Like, gambling was, you couldn't even mention gambling when it came to sports like a decade ago. And now you can't watch a single sporting event without seeing 400 gambling ads. Like, that was slow and then all at once. And so that's more of the psychology piece that I'm thinking of. And yeah, you got a response.
Cool. Awesome, man. Yes, sir.
Sweet. Where else should we go back to Ripple, or do you got something else?
Yeah, let's keep talking about these ETFs real quick, because what happened in 2024 when we had the launch of the Bitcoin spot ETFs, there was a major turning point in this whole space. We had billions of institutional dollar flowing in to this space within months. This legitimized Bitcoin as a macro asset, and it drew in these traditional investors who had previously said, I'm not touching this thing. And so right after that, you had Ethereum ETFs, and reinforcing this idea that not just Bitcoin, but digital assets are now a part of this mainstream investment portfolio. And this has completely changed the perception of crypto from being purely speculative to being a part of the actual balanced investment strategy that you're going to build out. So the next logical thing is, all right, well, why only Bitcoin and Ethereum? Maybe we should also have these other altcoins involved. And here we are today with, once again this week, Litecoin, HBAR, ETFs being passed. And next up on deck is XRP. Now, as this has been happening, Ripple has also been at a major turning point in everything that they've been building out. So late last year, December 2024, Ripple launched a stablecoin called RLUSD. And let me back up, because what is Ripple? Who is Ripple? And last time, apparently, I butchered this. So let me try again. Ripple is a fintech company that is focused on modernizing global payments using blockchain technology. The company was founded in 2012, and its goal has always been to build a faster, cheaper, and more transparent cross-border payments system. So what Ripple does is they work directly with banks and financial institutions using software that these banks can use to settle payments across each other's networks in a much more simple, seamless way. And the goal is that they will eventually actually settle payments across this network using a digital asset called XRP as a neutral bridge asset. So for instance, you have pounds on one end and you have US dollars on another end. Instead of holding pounds, because they have these nostro vostro accounts around the world where for international payments, banks just hold foreign reserves just for the fact that there's going to be someone who in a different country will send them money. And there's like $16 trillion plus that sits there just waiting for someone to send a cross-border payment. And then instead of having to always go out and buy this new currency and like have the risk of the exchange rate going up and down and stuff like that on them, they'll hold these reserves and use those reserves to pay the person that's in the local country that they're getting those funds to serve. Anyways, so this XRP asset is supposed to serve as a bridge between two different currencies. So instead of having to hold these foreign reserves, you could just hold XRP and use the XRP to then go out and transfer that into any other currency. Now, that was the original vision, but the way that this has actually been playing out has been through what are called stablecoins. So Ripple last year, once again, launched a stablecoin called RLUSD with the goal of having that be the first stablecoin that they get broad mainstream adoption of. And we'll talk about the things that they've been doing recently to make that work. But I just want to complete the picture of like what Ripple is actually doing now. So now, to make that system that I kind of described work, you would actually have to have what they've realized, and maybe there was always the plan, was that they need to digitize fiat first. Okay. So what they've done is they've created this RLUSD, and they're going to continue to create RLEUR, RLGBP. And that way they can have these tokenized stablecoins all working within the XRP ledger, where now to buy and sell this XRP, it can happen seamlessly without actually having to use traditional fiat rails. You can do it using these stablecoins over that network. And that is essentially what I believe is how they're going to try to create demand for the XRP asset, is through cross-border payments that are tokenized through stablecoins that are being used on the XRP ledger. I'm sure I butchered it again, but hopefully that made some sense.
No, that was pretty clear, I think. So let's say that they're fully successful in achieving all of that. What kind of impact would that have on the price?
Well, let's say it's piece by piece, right? $16 trillion of money that's just sitting in accounts. Let's say they get to where 10% of that is now being used through XRP. Now, this is where, once again, back to everyone's point about, like, Keith, you're talking about the market cap wrong. Okay, all right, listen. So here's where I think you have a point. If this asset is not just being used as an investment, right, but rather as an actual asset that has utility across this network, where 1.6, that's 10% of the 16 trillion, 1.6 trillion is just sitting in XRP, so that it can then be converted into any other asset in and out of those assets immediately in real time at all times of the day, right? Then this asset is just kind of being pushed around like back and forth into all these different currencies. And so then you get this event to where it's like, I don't even know how to describe that, but like it reminds me of like a pinball machine in a weird way, where it's just like bouncing around back and forth or whatever. And like, if there's a higher demand for that asset, then there is an amount of it available to perform that action, then you would potentially have an upward pressure on the price of that asset. And this is the idea, right? This is what it is that they're trying to accomplish, is having the demand to utilize this asset be higher than its current price.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being the case, say that gets to 20% and 30% and 50%. Does the asset get valued now by the demand that there is for the transaction of it into these other fiat currencies or these stable coins? So anyways.
Totally. No, I think that was very well said. And I always think about when Tom Lee's pushing this whole narrative of Ethereum is the Wall Street blockchain, right? We're talking about all of these things about how Wall Street has all these different products and all these different things that are getting finalized, and it's kind of clunky in the system in which it's done right now. If that's largely conducted on Ethereum, like, think about how much Ethereum is going to be needed to conduct all of these contracts, right? The smart contracts and the transfer of all of them, right? And so that's why they use the analogy of digital oil. The Ethereum people have really tried to push that, but it's a good analogy, right? Like, when a system that is this big and there's this much moving around at one time, oil is actually a very good analogy, right? If you could break it down to core principles, the whole economy runs on energy, and energy in current form is oil, right? Maybe we'll tap into some 0 point energy here in the near future, but for right now, it's oil, right? So it's a big deal. We had a few more messages here. RD says, do you think investors are holding too much XRP? Go ahead, Keith.
I think I get kind of the spirit of the question, because the idea is, if we all hold it and banks need it, then they will have to buy it from investors or borrow it from investors as well, guys. So there's going to be such an interesting way that if what they're doing, what they're trying to do works, there's going to be some very interesting new types of markets for this asset, right? It technically wouldn't look any different than the staking feature looks for something like Ethereum, or kind of like the liquidity providing that you see on other blockchains. But you could see, right, there being this like global kind of liquidity pool for an asset like XRP, to where, yes, these banks do need it. And so you, as the investor, can then lend it to them through these liquidity pools. And that right there, I'm going to be honest, could definitely open up some very fishy things that could happen in the future with the asset. My biggest thing is definitely going to be finding ways to make sure that I keep my hands on my assets when it comes to XRP in particular, because there's going to be a lot of different schemes and ways that it's going to be tried to get clawed away from you. And but I think I get the spirit of that question being like, people will need, the banks will need it. And if we have it, then there might need to be an exchange there. And there's a ton of conspiracies around a buyback, there being some XRP buyback.
That's what I was just about to say. That like, I don't put anything above people. Like, I think they would. So that actually kind of relates to this comment that we had up here where it was about the states using crypto right here. Do you believe America would wipe out the national debt with blockchain and crypto? I think that they totally would. Like, if it's a tool that they can achieve, yeah, of course they would. And we've talked about this before, where they repegged the price of repegged the price of gold to achieve similar things in the past. Like, this stuff isn't even unprecedented in terms of using that as a tool. So I totally think they would. I think XRP may play a part in that, but there's so many avenues. I think that's another point that I want to double on. The question you just touched was, you also don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. I think a lot of people, like, the only crypto they hold is XRP. And so if your thesis is like you're believing that this world is going to become what it will become, then I don't think you should have all of your eggs in one basket, even if your conviction is at the craziest of high levels. I think it still makes sense when you're on something that is conditional, like to have a little bit of diversification.
Yeah. We can definitely address a little bit of the XRP maxism
Yes.
in that, because it's a real thing. A lot of the XRP community, and if you're here with us, let us know, believe that Bitcoin is completely worthless and is useless. And to be fair, I understand where they're coming from. It's like, if this asset, right, has utility in the way that it's supposed to have utility, then versus a Bitcoin, yeah, Bitcoin does kind of become this clunky Napster looking kind of thing. And Bitcoin as the beta test coin, and I do stand by Bitcoin being the first iteration of blockchain and distributed ledger technology that is just a primitive thing that we'll see much more developed on top of.
Yeah.
But
the Trojan horse.
But yeah, and it's like, but through all of that, when it comes to building wealth, and as an investor, you always have to have contingencies in place and just spread your bets. Because think about it this way too. Like, let's say XRP does achieve the things that you want it to. And this is exactly the types of things that I personally had to go through. Well, what if Bitcoin goes to $1 million first? Right? Then you just miss an incredible opportunity to go out and acquire 10 times as much XRP because you weren't diversified. So that's a great point.
Yeah, your emotions can get the best of you. And even if you end up being right eventually, much like Keith, you just said, where you could have been way more right if you had some more patience. And so that's the benefit of diversification, right? Is that you're playing out different scenarios, because we can't control this stuff. We've talked about this so much, where there's people who have way more control than us who are dictating when prices go up, when they go down. There's definitely a lot of price manipulation. Like, it just happens. And so you definitely want to have some diversification into more than one thing. And I think learning is always one of the most important things, where you just constantly learn more. It may actually change your opinion on things. And the more you get diversified, the more you're going to be encouraged to learn too.
And I do want to answer this question that he had there, and also peace out to it, Ken. I know you'll be seeing this in the recording. The American, I'm gonna play a clip from my video. All right.
Yeah, do it. Let's go. Shameless plug. Let's go.
I've just already, you
should. It's the best video on YouTube. Let's see it. Let's go, Keith.
Hand him a little crypto check, right? We'll hand him a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion.
I think crypto's got a great future. I think it really does. Maybe we'll pay off the $35 trillion in crypto.
Right now. So, he said it.
It's crazy.
So if he said it, guys, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I'm gonna take that as a possible scenario. We've seen him say things and things come into fruition. So
I think he says the craziest shit possible so that, like, people stop listening, and then he can then later say, I told you I was going to do this. You didn't listen.
Type of thing. That, and then the idea that, like, okay, so maybe we won't imagine it this way. Like, when he did 100% tariffs on everybody. Okay, well, now when we do 20% tariffs, it's cool.
It's right? Chill. Yeah. It's he wrote a book on negotiation, and he actually, like, talks about a lot of this stuff in there.
People, man, you gotta. My thing was, when he first became president, I was in high school, and I had one of his books. I was reading. I was like, dude, like, he's the president now. Like, how did he get there? What is his line of thinking? And I would just keep the book, like, turned face down everywhere I went, because I didn't want anybody to know that I was reading the book.
But that's so dumb that people get so angry about that shit. Like, you can learn from everyone. Doesn't mean you like them or dislike them. It's just like, I'm trying to learn.
100%. It's an issue with economics as well. It's like don't read, or if you're like reading like some, the Communist Manifesto, people can be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, dude, like you need to understand that history.
Yes.
So anyways,
especially because every system was just someone's decision that they felt it was the best one at the time, right? And again, we've talked about how the history is decided by the victors, and so too is the next system that gets ushered in too, right? So there's also sometimes where people don't want you to know certain things for a specific reason. So knowledge is power, and you should try to acquire it from every which source so that you can discern what is useful and what is not, right? I think if you are told consistently that this is valuable information and it's only like you can only go down this path, that makes me more skeptical, and I want to read the other thing because why do you try to push this down my throat so much, for one?
100%, man. We talked about something like that very recently. I forgot what the effect is called, but it's the effect that like once you try to suppress information, it kind of just becomes even more
So
relevant. So I'm trying to find that post.
Yeah, go for it.
And then because we had a good comment from RD again.
Yeah.
And you made a good point there. So I'm going to address that. If I can find this tweet, I'm going to be super happy, or it's not even a tweet. Okay. Yeah, I found it. Awesome. Cool. So she said, didn't he mention XRP as well? Yeah. So both of those two quotes that we just looked at was him saying this pretty much before he was even the president. Yeah. Before he got elected this first time, or the second time around. And then once he got elected and took office, this was March 2nd, he said, a U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks, which is why the executive order on digital assets is going to create a crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP first, Solana, and ADA. And people were just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like in this moment, the X army was going crazy.
Yeah. So was Cardano.
They were like, yo, word, fair enough. For XRP people, this was like the most vindicating moment of all time. It was like, we've been in the trenches saying this stuff for years, and we've been called crazy and crazy. And like the president of the United States just said XRP first, right? And then it was hilarious because he came out. I don't know if I'm going to find it here or not. I think he like quoted this tweet, so I probably won't find it. But he was like, oh, and by the way, this digital asset reserve will include Bitcoin and Ethereum, because people were livid.
Yeah. They're losing their mind.
Yeah.
I remember that day very clearly.
I'm also having that moment because Jack Mallers that day or around then was like, he put out his whole thing that was like, Ripple and XRP are undermining the Constitution of the United States. And look, Jack, I'm not talking crap to you. What you're saying is valid. What you're saying is actually real. It was just, for everyone in the XRP army, it was just like this funny moment of like, now the Bitcoin maxis are crying.
Yes.
And there was literally a whole meme in the XRP community that was a meme coin that was released called Bitcoin Maxi Tears. And it performed pretty well for the time being. But anyways.
That's amazing. Yeah. If y'all are in here, we got 56 people in here live right now. Share this with any friend that you know likes finance or crypto too, because the more people that we get in here, I think we all benefit the most as independent investors from our access to as much information as possible. And a lot of us are in little echo chambers and we don't even realize we are. So I think it's really important that we get this show to a point where we have people from every cult, every crypto cult, so that we can kind of see our blind spots, right? Because they're all present. So definitely share this with any friends you think may be interested. It makes the live way more fun. But did you have any more XRP stuff in particular, or should we open up the floor?
I think yeah, actually, I didn't even get into the stuff that they've been doing now. I won't talk too much about it, but
no, go for it.
It all ties in. So back to this idea of like RLUSD, the first stablecoin that they've ever relaunched. This is going to be a massive turning point for Ripple and what it is that their use case is for this asset XRP. So now what they've done most recently is they've also started to acquire some companies. And this was like over the past 90 days, they've been acquiring companies. And the one thing that about Ripple that people underestimate is like that they have cash to just go out and
got a war chest.
Buy companies.
Yeah.
So anyways, let me try to wrap some of that up. So the idea is that XRP is going to be this thing that helps to power cross-border liquidity. RLUSD is this fuel okay, that will be used to make that thing run very well. And all these different stable coins will be there to kind of like be the place where that entrance into XRP will exist. And so what happened earlier this year is Ripple acquired a company called Hidden Road for $1.25 billion, one of the biggest crypto deals of the year. Now, Hidden Road is a prime brokerage that processed over $3 trillion annually across different markets. Now, what is a prime brokerage? It is like a financial concierge for large investors, hedge funds, family offices, and institutions. So they are providing tools and services that let investors trade, borrow, and manage capital efficiently across multiple markets. Okay. So for instance, if you want to go to Charles Schwab, like they're pretty much there for equities, right? That's where they're going to have the best executions, the best trades, the best spreads. It's going to be there. If you go to, this is a bad example because they're not institutional level, but like Ninja Trader, okay, for the retail people, is like a futures exchange. Okay, so if I wanted to go and place futures trades, I'd go there. They have the tightest spreads, the most liquidity there. But a prime brokerage is going to help you to find that across all these different assets. And the reason that that's important is because large institutions have large amounts of capital. And so they want to get the best deals that they possibly can across all different markets. And so to do that, you're looking at like a prime brokerage, you would look at like as a like Costco. Okay. It's like instead of going into Walmart, or excuse me, to Walgreens and trying to like go and buy all the little different things that you want, you go to Costco and you get the best deal that you can for the wholesale transactions that you need to make. So so that's what a prime brokerage is all about. It's like the Costco, but for financial transactions, where you can go in and get really good deals on assets across different markets because you're parking, $10 billion at one place.
Got it.
Cool. So what do they actually do? They execute trades. They also give you leverage, right? So now you can also like have crazy borrowing that you can do that no one else has access to. So you can have crazy amounts of leverage because you have so much capital. They know you'll kind of be able to pay them back anyways. They also clear and settle these transactions, and they'll safely hold assets on behalf of the prime broker client. So anyways, the largest names in TradFi around this are like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan. They all run these massive prime brokerage businesses. Okay, so they're sitting at the heart of financial plumbing. And so what Ripple is doing here by acquiring Hidden Road, and by the way, they changed the name to Ripple Prime. Okay, they've essentially now entered the same business that powers hedge funds and institutional trading in traditional markets. Now, here's the thing. Ripple is not just offering traditional prime brokerage. It's going to be offering a multi-asset prime broker that integrates digital assets with traditional assets. And guess what sits right in the middle of that equation? RLUSD. Okay, so now institutions are going to be able to use this platform to use digital assets as collateral, right? We talked a little bit about that earlier, like stable coins and other forms of tokenized collateral in derivative transactions. Okay, so this is going to be one place where investors can come in, buy stocks, buy crypto, buy stable coins, and potentially have all of those transactions be settled in RLUSD.
Dang.
So that was the first big acquisition. The second big acquisition that they made was this company called G Treasury. And this is a major treasury management platform. So as we've seen, companies like MicroStrategy, now Strategy, BitMine by Tom Lee, they're going out and they're acquiring assets and putting them on their balance sheet. They're acquiring digital assets and putting them on their balance sheet. So Ripple has said, okay, cool. We want to own one of the companies that's going to make that possible. So G Treasury, for instance, processes $12.5 trillion in payment volume and serves corporate treasuries worldwide. And so the idea here is integrating digital asset management, RLUSD and XRP into corporate treasury systems. And I explained this on my most recent video on my channel, by the way, but I'll do a quick breakdown of like, what is a treasury? A treasury, so companies, large multinational companies have a lot of cash, okay? Usually they've got a lot of cash coming in and a lot of cash coming out. And in that, they have to have a team that manages the cash flow of that business. And sometimes what they're doing is they're parking money at big banks like JP Morgan. JP Morgan is going to pay them, for instance, a little bit of a rate for the money that they're parking there. This is like where commercial paper can kind of come from. So anyways, you've got all these reserves, like a big multinational company, like just Facebook, whatever. They're sitting on billions and billions of dollars of just cash, but they shouldn't have it in just cash. They have to park it and earn something on it. So the treasury is just about like managing, making sure that there's enough money to go to pay for payroll, to pay any interest payments that they have to pay and stuff like that, but still making sure that they're getting as much of that money to work as possible. So anyways, G Treasury is a company that helps other companies manage that process. And Ripple has now acquired this company thinking, okay, well, maybe you can park some of your funds in RLUSD or in XRP.
Got it.
Now, the third big thing that they've been doing is this company called Evernorth, which is a new investment vehicle that is going to be using XRP as a reserve asset. So essentially, they've also created a SPAC, okay, which is a special purpose acquisition company where you go out and you essentially take a company that's already public and you use that public company to acquire a private company in order to take that private company public. And so Ripple has essentially given this company $1 billion to make an acquisition. But in this case, they're actually going out and they're going to be buying XRP in this company. And so this is going to be their own, essentially, you know, they've invested in this company, a corporate treasury company. So they're creating the MVP, right, for what it is that they're doing by investing in this company in called Evernorth.
That's actually smart.
It's really smart. And these three things have all just happened in the past 90 days. So it's like, holy moly. This is a really big deal. So anyways, those are the big things. I think we've kind of painted the picture of like why this matters.
Yes.
So
do you want so someone had a comment here that was awesome, Keith. Great job. So in this, they had said that, where's that comment? I'm trying to find it here. Where they said XRP or Ripple gave money to fund a ballroom right here.
Yeah.
Real one. And so I had not heard of this. So this is pretty crazy. And so there's a list of the donors, and these are like the who's who. Like we've got Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, we've got Google, HP, Lockheed Martin, Meta, like, and then Ripple. So that's
okay, cool. Because I didn't see that list yet.
Palantir.
Oh snap, dude! Yeah. So Ripple also donated. So there was also a fund that was donated. Okay, hold on. So Trump's inauguration had a bunch of crypto donors as well.
Yes.
And Ripple was one of them.
Huge money
Gemini
too.
was one of them. So there's been a lot of moments where that's been going on, and there were some good memes about that stuff too. Oh dang, I didn't take inventory of them.
But I got another thing here I want to share. So you mentioned this is important to talk about. Like a lot of these things that are being created, really, it was Michael Saylor who carried a lot of the weight and the torch to build these things to a place where people actually saw this as something that was legit. And his company strategy that was previously MicroStrategy, he actually got a rating for credit rating firm S&P Global assigned a B- issuer credit rating to strategy. So people were basically saying like this should have been better, but Saylor was pretty positive about it because he basically said, at least we have one, right? Like
that was cool.
He responded really well to that because everyone else was like, this is bullshit. And then he was like, oh, well, this is a starting point. Now let's go prove them, right? It's kind of like when they don't even let you play, but you know you're the best player. At least if they put you in the game, if it's a small role, eventually you're going to earn the trust, and eventually people are going to be like, okay, this is indisputable. They're doing something here. And so, it's I thought that was important to note. That was really recent too.
Yeah, that was like, if it wasn't yesterday, it was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And he came out and did an interview with CNBC or somebody big. And he was basically making a couple of really interesting claims there. One of them was that, okay, well, this is only going to go up from here, so I'm not mad. And the other thing that he said that I thought was really interesting in this interview, and I have to look into this and fully get it, but he's basically saying that they've got a product that allows investors to get dividends that are qualified dividends, meaning that these dividends will not be taxable. And so that was another really big point that he was making about the product that he's trying to offer. And that definitely changes the game. So what I've realized about strategy that I do like, and everyone, I kind of put out like a little bit of a hate piece around all these companies while giving MicroStrategy the pass because they did it first and they're doing it. They've been doing it at least. But what's super interesting about what he's done is he's actually created different classes of the investment. And he walks through that in this interview where it's like, yes, you have the equity. Like if you just buy MicroStrategy, you've got, you clearly don't mind volatility is what he said.
And I love that he's like, he said it like, yeah, like you literally know that this is going to go up and down 50% in a year.
Yeah. You're buying
but
this understanding that.
yeah, but you're going to get really big returns. But then he's also got like these debt offerings that he's issued. And the debt offerings are like, you get a much more steady return. You've got fixed income that you're generating off of Bitcoin. Like that's a really unique offering, right? In fact, you have to go to like Ethereum and wrap Bitcoin to even find anything like that. But even then, it's not fixed income because you're usually going to have a difference in the rate that you're getting as the demand for these assets goes up and down in these decentralized protocols. And then the third thing that he's done is he's created what's called a oh my goodness, it's a dividend, but it is a preferred dividend. My goodness. So he's also got this preferred income that you can get off of it, so that it's got some of the equity characteristics. You get the gains from that, but you also get the fixed income that's going to come from it as well. And so he's done an amazing job building out a different product line, and it's crazy. I mean, Preston Fish, oh man, if we could have him on, that'd be fantastic. He's the one who's really broken this down for me in a really cool way, and he's stayed on top of this from the beginning. They did have this show called We Study Billionaires or whatever, and what he's basically lined out for me to understand is that like MicroStrategy is not like it's not a tech company anymore. It is a financial company, right? So they're offering these new types of financial products that never existed for an asset that technically hasn't existed either.
Yeah.
That is what it is that they are doing so effectively that hasn't been done before. I did find that meme about the ballroom.
Cool.
So I gotta pull that up real quick.
And then Joseph had a comment. Sorry, he said, anyone ask or cover why these asset managers deliberately changed spot XRP ETFs filing? They held the auto approval for XRP for a reason. Why?
I don't know about the auto approval thing.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that either.
Change spot XRP ETFs. Let me change spot to.
Wait,
yeah, I'm not sure, guys. I'm not sure. But it sounds like a good question though. So. All right, so this Wall Street Mav guy, one of my favorites of the meme world, he said, wait, they're really attaching a Cracker Barrel to the East Wing? So this itself wasn't really all that funny, but it's interesting, right? Like people are making up that like people are just buying the East Wing. And so the McBallroom. Oh, that one's bad. But okay, all right. These are bad. So hold on. But what was really funny is that Cracker Barrel actually responded, guys, and they said, "You probably don't want us anywhere near a remodel."
That's hilarious.
They killed it.
That's
killed
good.
it.
Yeah.
For anyone who wasn't aware, like Cracker Barrel did a rebrand recently, and people like
hated it,
crazy about it. They kind of went woke, and they were like, "You literally don't serve woke people. Like, what do you do?"
Yeah.
So they kind of like did themselves in with that one, which was a really, really good response. Someone was like, "Oh, it sounds like you've been studying from Wendy's," because Wendy's, right, is really good at doing these memes on X.
Yeah, no, I'm all about inclusivity and all of that. It's just like, it's just bad business if that's not who your customer is, right? Like read the room kind of thing. And I'm not saying promoting intolerance is the move, but like why rock the boat for someone who like is clearly not your customer? It's just silly business in my opinion. But
one quick thing I gotta say,
yeah,
if you are tuning in right now, hit the like and subscribe button. I see y'all.
Yeah, we see you. There's no way y'all have all subscribed, so make sure to do that right now, because will notify you when you're live, or when we're live, and you'll only be notified when we're live. No clips, no nothing, just good stuff.
Yes, and we enjoy you being here, and also leave us a comment if you're new, because I know you're new, because we've never had this kind of numbers. So let us know, say what's up, and you're a part of the family now. So welcome.
Yes, 100%. And the best part about the show is that it is live and interactive too. So not only do you shape the topics we cover, but even the episodes themselves, when you're here live, that's one of the huge perks of being here, right? We got RD with another one. RD always has amazing questions. Will XRP go from $3 to 45-ish, or do you think when it's ready, it flies to 100 and past that? This is hard.
You know, I stay away from XRP price stuff, because I'm just gonna be honest. Like, if we're doing what we're trying to accomplish here, then like, then yes, RD, yes is the answer to that question.
Yes. Yeah, I think what's up, Flexo? Or I'm probably pronouncing that horribly. Flexo. I can't. but you're awesome. Appreciate having you back.
Yes, you've been here from the beginnings, man.
Yeah, you're
So
awesome.
I
But
appreciate you.
that's the hard part with predicting any of these prices, because we do talk about how history leaves clues, right? Doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. But we're entering an era where it's such a seismic shift in terms of how all of these systems function. And so the rules that we've used to date, they were all governed by when money was under a completely different system, right? The underlying mechanism that we use to attribute value is changing fundamentally. So that makes it so hard to predict specifics in this, because it could go like unfathomably crazy based on current day standards, but we're going to have a new benchmark.
100%, dude. Like, it's just a completely new paradigm. So that's why I'm never like, XRP could never go to $10,000. You guys are stupid. You're crazy. It's like, listen, if we enter a new world where that becomes the standard of how we look at value, then I'm not going to be surprised by a $1,000, $10,000 XRP. Now, do I think that's going to happen tomorrow? No. But we're young. Listen, I'm going to be honest. Like, in 30 years, though?
Totally.
What is the world going to look like in 30 years? That's my only thing.
All of this
like,
is,
I don't know,
like this, because it's always been incredibly difficult to predict and extrapolate out beyond even months or weeks. And now, if you're trying to do that on years, when we have genuinely transformational technology for all of the ways that we conduct ourselves as human beings within an economy, and how we even see each other, interact with each other, there's these coming together of technologies that are all exponential technologies coming at the same time. So if anybody can predict beyond like a month from now, they may have a time machine. Like, they may be the Trumps who actually have the time machine they took from Tesla, man.
Yeah, man. It just brings me back to the Riddlers. Like, even back to the teal comments that we posted the first time we did the XRP episode. Like, did he know something, or was he just making his own little prediction? You know?
Yeah.
And does it matter? Like, does it matter? Or is that still just a trajectory that we're on regarding all of this stuff? Like, anyways, all I'm saying is,
see, here's the thing.
it's all possible.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, this got me really excited when I read this, Joseph. This is a very good point. So 15-minute cities, but not what you think, like the Jetsons. So I think that's like a positive outlook on the whole thing that's been spread around 15-minute cities. So if you're new to it, essentially, in the new... You've never heard of it? Okay, perfect. So the New World Order is this thing that's been coined along the internet, and it's from the entities that created this. They are from a legitimate entity. I think it's like the World Economic Forum and a few other places. If I'm wrong in the chat, please correct me. But essentially, it's the fact that they're going to develop these 15-minute cities where you'll basically own nothing and be happy, right? So everything will be conducted within a 15-minute from you. You'll be surveilled. You'll like that whole thing. The path towards the 15-minute cities is that whole thing, right? And so that does spark a debate, right? Because if you, like the Jetsons, let's say, the cartoon that we grew up and we watched, whatever, the path to getting there is impossible with our current systems. Like, it's genuinely impossible, right? And so this is a very nuanced debate that we're going to have with all of these decisions being made, because with anything, there's trade-offs, right? And so then we have to decide to ourselves, like, for me in particular, it's not necessarily that all of these things involved with the 15-minute cities inherently make me mad. What makes me mad is that I know they won't be applied to everyone. That's what pisses me off the most, right? Because I'm like, this is bullshit, because I'm going to be forced to do this because I'm not a billionaire. It's the same with the politics stuff we talk about all the time, right? Like how I always use the Canada analogy, where how Trudeau's team spent $88 million building Arrive Can. And if I did that, I'd be getting fired or going to jail. Right? But because they're the prime minister or they're involved with government, no one even talks about it. And that's just okay. So it's hard to imagine that when they're doing this stuff, that they're not coming from a nefarious place, and that it wouldn't only exacerbate the current issues that we have of the divide of what chair are you in dictates what life that you have. And I don't think that's fair. So if you can try to get to a place where there's actual genuine equality, it's just hard because the guys who are making the decisions have all the power right now. And so they'd have to be really amazing people to let some of that go.
Dude, it just takes me to 2020. That was like the perfect example to me of like how things will go in the future potentially. I remember the UK, I believe, had like you had like these zones that you could go within in order to accomplish your life or what you needed to do with your life or whatever. And maybe I'm making that up. I don't know. There was something like that going on.
No, that's real. Where were you during COVID?
I was in Florida initially,
Amazing.
which was
That's
a
amazing.
funny place to be.
Yeah, that's where you want to be, man.
Because that did not exist there, by the way. For anyone who doesn't know, there was no problem.
Yes.
But anyways, but it was like this big scandal because these guys were like leaving their condos and like flying on jets, and like these politicians, I'm saying, were just doing all this stuff, and everybody had to stay at home. And it was like, wait a minute,
Yes.
how does that work? And you just kind of made me think of that because that was what we saw then,
practice.
and it wouldn't be crazy to see that in the future with this 15-minute city thing, which I've never heard of before.
With the tool of social media, it means that 24/7 there's access to effective propaganda in your pocket, right? And so then there's algorithms testing the efficacy of how often you need to see a message, what messages need to hit you at the right time. Like the ability to manipulate the public has never been higher, right? And what I found the scariest relating back to COVID was how quickly we all turned on each other, bro. Especially here in Canada, it was crazy, man. Like these were made up rules from bullshit people that didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. And yet your friend or your grandpa or whatever would like attack you for like violating the rules of like, you have 5 people in your house. It should only be 4. Like, shut up. Are you kidding me? But we turned on each other like this and we all complied. It was insane to watch. And yeah, and Canada did this really, really well. Like people were really bought in and turning on each other. That's why I tried to go to the States. Like I actually went to Florida like about a year into COVID for that exact purpose, where I was like, I'm seeing my friends living life and they're not dead, man. Like, I'm not saying that it wasn't real. But I'm saying like it definitely was fear mongered, and you could say it's all because they don't know they have to take the like cautious approach. But I'm skeptical of that. I feel like there's so much more that meets the eye. And also I lived through this as with my agency where people literally couldn't talk about it. If you can't talk about it on social media and they position it as like, oh, it's like, this is the most bullshit thing ever. So the government or whatever can come in and say, oh, you can't talk about that because propaganda may spread. You're the propaganda machine. You're the source of all propaganda. What do you mean? It's the same thing. You can do it, but we can't talk about it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if the algos are like cool with this stuff now, but that's why I always refer to 2020.
We lost like 20 people, so maybe it's not.
I always say 2020, but anyway, no, in general, it's like this is kind of the same stuff we talk about over and over again around like social media, how it can propagate messages, and there was a moment there where it was like, well, not these messages. And that was, it was everything around censorship, I think, was made forefront then. I mean, it was then, and then moving into 2021 when we had our president kind of like get kicked off of Twitter. And like, listen, I understand that they needed to do it or that they felt the need to do it, but it just opens up Pandora's box, right?
Yes.
And now you've got Truth Social.
Bro, it also created TikTok. Like there was not as much of brain rot before COVID at all. It created the creator economy in the way that we know it now. Most creators were started during COVID. Like when I keep saying COVID, I guess I should say 2020. When I was a creator, I had been a creator for like 3 or 4 years before this whole thing happened. And then everybody became a creator once the lockdown started to happen. And so that really pushed things. But I think maybe even the more deliberate intention of that was that it really ushered in this mass hyper politicized environment that we have now. Like that, without 2020, I don't think we're as divided as we are today. Like, I don't think that's possible, right? Because most of these people that don't even realize that they have these very strong convictions, these touch points that I talked about before, where you can piss anyone off by saying a name. Like I have a lot of friends who are on the right side who are like, if you talk about anything that's inclusive related, they're like, oh, shut up. And then if you talk about anything who is related to Trump, people freak out on the other side. That all stemmed from us being on our phones the whole time while we were locked up. So very shitty time, man.
The only thing that I wanted to pull back on was like, I was in university at the time, and like it was wild how people would like if someone threw a party, they would be like, I mean, obviously, like my thing was like, don't post on your stories, guys, that you're doing a part. Like that's really dumb.
That's so stupid. Yeah, I know.
But people would like start telling on each other, like trying to get people kicked out. I'm like, oh gosh, guys, like it doesn't affect you that I'm having a party at my place, and I wasn't having a party, to be clear.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, but like if you're not doing that, then you should be straight, my guy. Like why are you going out of your way to tell on someone else having a party when you're not going to class? Everyone's at home anyways. But anyway,
Yes.
that turning on each other was a real thing.
So real. And it was crazy how quickly, and I understand that we've been conditioned since we were born to believe these central entities as like the beacon of truth and to keep us safe, because they've always been told, if you don't, you'll die, basically, right? Or you'll go poor, or you'll be homeless, whatever, if you don't do that. So I think we saw in practice how effective it was. And if this kind of shit ever happens again, like, don't forget your whole life, man. Like, why do we trust this entity that we know screws us over all the time instead of our friends and our family and the people around us, right? Like, even my own family was like really bad with this, where they would try to guilt trip me for going to Florida and stuff. And they're like, do you not care about us, Ben? Like, what if you get COVID? And I actually did get COVID, to be honest. When I came home for Christmas, I couldn't actually see anyone at Christmas because I was randomly selected at the border for a COVID test coming back to Canada. And I did have COVID. So I literally drove all the way back from Florida and just to sit by myself because I had COVID. So it was real. Like, I got COVID multiple times, but it wasn't any more extreme than any flu I've ever had. And granted, I'm young and I'm not immunocompromised, so I'm conscious of that. But like, the flu happens every year, and if you're immunocompromised, it's a problem there too. Like, it's a shitty thing.
So Joseph said something here over and over again, and I'm honestly just curious because I've known about this before. It was kind of a mainstream thing, I guess. But Joseph said, seriously, pull up the House of Doge. Will blow your mind, guys. So what is that, Joseph? Why do you think that that's significant? Like, what is happening there that is mind-blowing? Super curious.
I'm looking at it right now. The official corporate arm of the Dogecoin Foundation. And it says, empowering companies to use only Doge every day. Are you a big Doge holder? Or making the currency of the Earth, Moon, Mars, and stars. Okay. What are they actually doing? Because it sounds like a lot of marketing speak. Unified Dogecoin solution.
There's like an ETF. I was to be transparent, like I was approached about this, and I was like,
okay, okay. So this is one of those things. Yeah. Okay.
But I think, I mean, what they're doing is, to be fair, they're like creating like utility for Dogecoin, which I get. I just think that it's still Dogecoin.
Do you hold any meme coins?
I mean, probably somewhere out there in some wallets floating around, but
yeah, no,
I'm not big into it.
Joseph saying, talking about intergalactic currency to Mars. Yeah, I think that when Elon gets that Mars civilization sorted, there's got to be some sort of means of exchange. So maybe it will be Doge. Who knows?
Yeah, to be fair. Like, you know, the thing about Doge is that it is marketing, right? So if they continue to do marketing well, then maybe Dogecoin will continue to be more successful.
Yeah. And they did incredibly well last cycle. Like, they did that nuts. There was there was the Dogecoin millionaire or whatever that went on Graham Stephan's show. And
I didn't see that.
That's a very good point of reference to a point that we made earlier in the conversation, where how quickly people's expectations change, right? He was up $1 million and he was a very normal dude, like had a very normal salary. And so $1 million to him was like a decade of work. I think it was something like that. And he didn't sell it.
Wow.
Right. So when people are like, oh, I'm going to sell it the second it hits $1, or like for Cardano, or when people say, oh, I'll sell XRP when it hits $10, it's like, it may move too fast where your baseline now gets completely changed.
And this is by the way, the thing that you said, like this is the exact metric that I try to use, because this was the thing that I think if I would have thought in this way, I would have made better decisions. What multiple of your yearly income has your portfolio turned into? And when you start getting past 2-3 times your yearly income,
yeah,
it's like you really want to consider taking profits at that point, or at least creating a plan around what you're going to do. Because, and this is what I tell people to do, you need to create a plan before that, right? And have that kind of defined. Okay, when my portfolio hits 5 times of my my annual income, I'm going to take 10% off the table,
totally,
or 20% off the table. So then I can have a full year where I can say, actually, I'm going to quit my job and do whatever I want or find something else to do.
Yes, man. That's so awesome, because really money in its current form should really just be used as a form of leverage, right? And you can buy back your time, then you can go acquire skills that could allow you to make way more money. But unfortunately, you need the time to do that. So I think a lot of people, they fail in crypto, myself included, in the past, because I didn't sell. I didn't let it change my life the way that it could have, because I got my bullish goggles on way too aggressively. And I could be totally wrong, but I still think we'll experience a crazy altcoin season. And I think people need to prepare psychologically. You need to write like a letter to yourself or your future self or whatever, saying that if this happens, I'm going to sell some of it, because it's very easy to write it up all the way up and then all the way down, because as quickly as these gains can come, they go away just as fast too. And I do think there'll be quite a big collapse. I don't even think it'll be crypto that causes it. I think it might be just more general economic that leads to the spillover, knocking over crypto in a very big way. But if you're not prepared and you're not selling along the way, you're going to be sad and cry. And you can't say we didn't try to warn you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I mean, my whole like future of my business is like trying to prevent people from making that mistake.
Yes.
Because it literally, I mean, it changed my life for 4 years. Because the thing is you get a 6-month, you get like a month and a half window to make a decision of what of whether or not you're going to take profits.
Yes.
But you had to wait 4 years,
yeah,
right? Potentially to get that opportunity.
I know.
So when you don't take it, it's going to be another 4.5 years. And that might not sound like a long time, but let me tell you,
it's a long time.
Just watched yourself go from from making crazy amounts of money that you've never seen before to being right back to where you started. That not only is painful financially, it is painful psychologically, and it will eat you up if you don't have other opportunities that you have that are feeding you, especially. So if you're getting to the point where it's multiples of your yearly income, and you also don't have some business that is feeding you, right, that is just working for you, or other passive streams of income that are just working for you, then it's a good idea to take profits and even just rotate into less risky assets. Like just go buy income to ETFs, and that way you now do have that income stream that's paying you.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people fall victim to this because they set a final destination and they think the only vehicle that to get them there is the price appreciation of the asset they're currently holding, right? It's a very slippery slope to go down, because you want to constantly ask yourself, like, would you buy this at today's price, right? Based on what you know. And if the answer is no, you should probably sell some, right? That's why, like, when I sold my Pudgy Penguin that I sold, it was because it reached a price where I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, how is, like, and that's why I was like, okay, I'm a massive bull. I'm an NFT bull. I know that's like very controversial, but in terms of my understanding, you would be too if you knew what I knew. But it reached a point where I was looking at the price figure, and like, I do okay with my business and stuff, but I looked at it and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is ridiculous. And so I sold it, right? If you're looking at it and you have something that you're like, this is so clearly overpriced, sell some of it, for the love of God. Please sell some, because last cycle I didn't sell anything. Luckily, I picked some winners that came back, but I could have had such different money, because the point that you mentioned is so important to double down on, because most people are trapped in their situation, and why they need crypto to work out for them so much is because they like see this is like the jumping there, right? But you almost guarantee yourself success in today's economy if you can buy yourself a year of time. So much like you said, I love that analogy, because if you get enough where you're making like a year's salary that you've made from your profits, I want you to change your relationship to what that means. And it's not, oh, I'm only going to get a year off. I get a year to build a business, right? And with all the tools that are there, with AI, with social media, with the show, we're here to help you. You literally can, if you took a year and you're even remotely intelligent, there's no way you don't make money online. And like, if you can read, if you can hear, there's no way you don't make money online. Like, it's become that much easier with these tools. And of course, it's going to get set more and more saturated, and more skill will become a bigger part of it. But that's the thing. So we got one Atlantis saying Pudgy Penguin. Pudgy Penguin's crazy. I sold my Pudgy Penguin for a higher price tag than my parents bought our first home.
Wow.
How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
By a substantial margin.
That's crazy.
It's insane. Yes.
That's the world we're in, guys.
Yes. I love this too, where they said, take your profits. Investing isn't like hokey pokey. You can divide and withdraw. So yeah, that's it, right?
Exactly,
You don't have to
yeah.
sell parts of it, man. The benefits of the fact that this is a fractional asset is that you can sell a piece of it. And I did none of that. So like, please do that.
Like, so there was two things in my head that messed me up. One of them, I think this is fair if you're younger. It was like, I was scared of taxes. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, if I sell, then I'm gonna have to pay taxes, and like I don't know what that's like, and like it scared me.
It is intimidating. Yeah, totally.
The other big thing was like a principles thing. I'm like, oh no, like I saw this coming. I'm not selling.
That's why I didn't do it. That's why I didn't do it. Yeah. Same deal. Because it was the first time that I had money. I had wanted to invest into Bitcoin and crypto since literally high school. I remember talking to it. Producer Kurt's in the background here. Like, he wasn't in the class. I don't think he was in the exact class that we learned about it, but I remember talking about it after that I did it. And I was like, we should figure out how to buy this thing. And then because the price went so crazy, I was paying attention so much. And so I would follow 2 or 3 cycles, but I had no money in the game. And I think having money makes the numbers have a feeling state attached to them. If you're just watching numbers on a board, it doesn't mean anything to us because we're not connected to it. But the cycle that I was involved in, it was an emotional roller coaster. And at first you're like, you're almost like a crackhead, man. You're checking every morning the prices and how much money you've made. And there were some days where I'd wake up and I made like 50 grand in a night on paper. Right. And then I didn't make any dollars because I didn't sell any of it. Like, I should have sold. Okay, that's crazy amounts of money. Like, I can pull out 10K and be chilling. I should have done that. And I did not. That hurt.
Just pieces of it, man, at a time. Like,
yes.
Now for everyone who doesn't know, I'm about to move to I guess, Ben, you might have even heard some. I'm about to move to Southeast Asia for a little bit. And now I'm like, oh, if I had just taken like 10% of that.
Yeah, you'd be chilling there for years.
Years of runway in Southeast Asia. But anyways, yeah, it's another thing. Travel, guys, like, broaden your horizons. Because like, if I had traveled, for instance, I would have understood that. But because I hadn't been around the world or even known that was a thing, I couldn't think of money in that way.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I definitely had, but I really wanted to move to America. And so that kind of skewed my things too, because I was looking at the prices of everything and I'm like, I need so much more money to do this, right? If I had gone more the Asia route, that would have been, I probably would have changed my decisions a little bit. So maybe I should have done that. But I was always dead set on, I'm going to move to Florida. I'm going to do this, whatever. And so that changed my decision making. But because if I had taken my own advice of saying, okay, how much more time would this buy me? For me, the money would have been, how many more bets can I now take with business? Because when you acquire skills to grow businesses, money in your hands becomes worth so much because you can essentially perform alchemy. Like, I look at most businesses out there and you could drop me into any business and I could make their business grow like 10x because I know the levers to pull. I just don't have the money to do them all at the same time. And so for me, I have to do like one here, one here, one here, one here. And I get crazy returns on all of it. I just can't move as fast because I don't have the war chest. If you hold more than a year, what percentage do you pay in taxes? So that's going to totally depend on where you are in the world. Everything has different rules, and this show will never be financial or tax or legal advice. But so definitely consult a professional near you. It's totally different. And then Bobby says, yes, get that passport, y'all. Bobby, where are you? Or which places come to mind when you think of the whole traveling thing? I've traveled a fair amount, but moved to nowhere, North Dakota. I purchased a house for $13K and lived for decades on crumbs. Wow. If you want to live large, you'll waste money. That's amazing. I'll pop that up on the screen. That's so cool. Yeah, I've debated that, but I really like the warm weather, man. I really want sun. I want a beach. And unfortunately, you pay a premium for that wherever you are.
Yeah, that's funny. That's an interesting thought for sure. Yeah, $13K North Dakota, man. I got.
How long ago was that?
From around there.
That had to be ages ago. Dubai, people Dubai. Okay, so that's actually, I've debated moving to Dubai, but then the more that I thought about it, I'm like, seems like a fairly risky proposition because if you're going there purely because of the tax structure, they can change that tax structure at any time. And they've started to do that. So it's like your whole life is there, you're being surveilled 24/7, and then what?
As an American, it's not even an option, really.
You can?
You can. It just doesn't change anything for you.
Because you still got to pay taxes in America, right?
Exactly. Until you renounce your citizenship, you're still going to pay taxes to the crown.
Yeah, we don't have to do that in Canada. That's one benefit we have to you guys is I can just leave here, which I intend to do eventually. So Okay, a kiddie pool next to a trailer in AZ. Yeah, that could work. I could get a little kiddie pool and live there. Get a view of outside the U.S. It is eye opening. I've traveled a fair amount. I've been to Europe. I have the only place I've been to, like Mexico. I still North America. I've been to a lot of Central America, but not anywhere in Asia.
I've noticed this is a big topic nowadays in the crypto world, especially. I think it's just a part of the mindset around it. We're all very like free thinkers and, trying to figure out where to find the best deal, especially as the West continues to kind of like, decline a little bit. So this is interesting to see that there are so many thoughts around this, but I have seen that as a recurring theme. My criteria or the way that I've been thinking about this is like, okay, Dubai. What I'm trying to find the mix of is like a place to be that obviously can allow me to have more runway as an entrepreneur, to potentially be around other entrepreneurs, and obviously have as much safety and security as possible. I think a place like Dubai, you get a lot of those things in one, but you're paying a lot for it, right? So you're going to pay for it. And in my case, I don't get the tax benefits either. So the way that I'm seeing my life, and this is me just being vulnerable with you guys, I guess, but like, I see myself going like from Southeast Asia, then I'll graduate, maybe go to Dubai. I don't really know. Maybe I'll just come back to the States. And then I would graduate to New York. And like, that's the place where I would like really take things all the way to that next level. So I do think that being in the United States is a great place to be, to like, if you're already in a place where you're good,
So
but it's like hard to get up. And I say that, but like relatively.
We'll get there.
Yeah, like
that's also what I was thinking about. I was thinking about you literally 2 or 3 days ago. And I was actually running through this scenario that you're describing right now. I was like, does Keith want to go to Asia because he wants to go to Asia? Or does Keith want to go to Asia because he can't live the way that he wants to and run his business the way that he wants to in America? And I figured it was the latter. Am I accurate? It's both.
It's both. Because there's also this like, the problem that I have with the States is this like obsession with capitalism and money.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, all right, like I see
I
the
love that
importance
shit.
and the value of it, but it's not my life.
No,
like,
it's
I think
fun.
that there's more important things than like, because I want to be in a place where it's actually cool to not buy stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not big on the buying stuff. I love building shit.
I want it to be cool to have time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want that to be the flex.
It sounds
And
like Europe
what I
is
feel
the place
like is
for
the
you
flex
then.
in Southeast Asia.
Is it like that too?
True Europe. Well, it's just like you're more immersed with nature. Like you're in a jungle and like, you're just around people that are taking care of their health. You're eating good. That's another problem in the States is food is horrific here.
Have
it's things like that.
Have you traveled yet, Keith?
Have I traveled yet?
Yeah, like have you traveled much of the world yet?
I have. I've been to a nice amount of Europe. I spent some time in Southeast Asia and I realized, oh, this is where I want to be for a little bit.
Okay, so you've been there before.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I found that I was very if you're like, so the capitalism money thing, I think that's an important thing to discuss because that's obviously one of the biggest things that makes America the superpower that it is. I personally like a lot of the byproducts of it. I think we're far too obsessive with it in America. I think it definitely is to the extreme, but a lot of other countries are like too far the other way, man. And you do find yourself getting a little frustrated with how incompetent people become when there's no sense of urgency. Like it makes people very difficult to deal with. And as someone who like you, who likes to shape your own world, a lot of other places, it's not like that.
That's true. I've heard a lot of complaints about that in like the south of this side of the world. And I mean, for the most part, I'm not doing business with those people. So, I'm online.
Yeah, totally.
But it runs into your life though.
It impacts your daily life. And also things like we take for granted in terms of plumbing and shit. Bro, I was in a nice place in Mexico paying a decent amount of money and our internet and electricity went out multiple times and our access to water went out multiple times.
Where was this again, you said?
In Playa del Carmen, Mexico.
Okay, yeah. I was in Morocco last year and like I didn't even think about stuff like this, but the internet on the block just went down. All electricity just went down. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of a trade. This is not an option.
So when you go and you move to Asia, like we're gonna have to make sure your internet's elite.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm going to Bangkok first. So like,
okay, so that's good. You're good to go.
That's like high. They have better average internet than we do in the States.
Sorted. Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. And I agree with all that. And as a kid, America was just always my something that I was very drawn towards it. The whole American dream, of course, it's like, it's kind of bullshit, but it also isn't. Like, if I was in America and I lived there and I grew up there, obviously it's impossible to say that I'd be the same person, but if I was, hypothetically, I would be way more wealthy. Like, way more wealthy, because there's so many things that are more difficult to do here. And in Canada, we're very much a complacent nation. Like, there is no, you get penalized for being ambitious here. I think Professor Jiang, to quote him, he literally said ambition is a dirty word in Canada. And I lived that, man. It is not a place for builders. Our biggest export is talent. And so I do love the fact that the talent exodus goes to you guys. It goes to America. And so it's kind of cool if you're the who's who. I was talking to my friend last night. She's like talking about why she loves doctors and stuff. And I was like, you may want to love American doctors, not as much Canadian doctors, because if you're the best of the best, of course, there's so much nuance here. And a lot of people stay because they're patriotic, whatever. But if you're the best of the best, you go where you can get paid the most. If that's the currency, that's what you're looking for, right? And so I do think the talent pool in America is pretty amazing. Do you worry about the languages when you travel in terms of how you're going to be able to find entrepreneurs that you can actually talk to, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like these places I'm going are very touristy places. But I'm a language nut, something that I've kept very, very hidden from all of my YouTube endeavors. But I love language. So I'm excited to get to learn new ones. And that's something that, yeah, excites me about all
What
of this.
languages do you know?
I speak Spanish relatively well. That's the main one I would say. And I've just studied, in school and stuff like that. I studied Chinese.
Cool.
I've
That's
studied on my
badass.
own a little bit of Italian, German, but just on my own.
Language is so fascinating to me. And I've really thought about how with these translating headphones, does all language just come together to one thing? Right. So, and I get X here said that too, right? I more so mean, I don't mean getting by, right? Like, that was not what I meant when I was asking Keith that. I mean connection. Because there's a huge difference between talking to someone and understanding what they mean and having the vehicle for connection, right? Like, language is really that. Like, why I love the English language and my ability to comprehend more of it is because it gives me more specific tools to evoke certain emotions in the people I'm speaking to, right? And I know that you really can't connect with someone unless you have a strong understanding of not just the words themselves and their meaning, but the feeling behind them, right?
Do you speak other languages too?
No,
Okay.
just English. But I'm saying I love the fact that I can, like, my whole tool is speaking to people, right? And if you don't have the depth of the connection, you can't do it. Like, for case in point, my girlfriend is from Turkey. Her two brothers, their English is like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I've spent a lot of time with them, but I don't know them at all because I can't, right? Because I have to constantly filter through how I'm going to say something to try to say it in a way that they understand. And so even in a world of like translation, I feel like the feeling gets lost because a lot of words don't translate directly. And so we're kind of constantly doing this like game of telephone to kind of understand where we're going, but is the feeling there? That's more my concern.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. X. That's what I was trying to say. You said that way better than I did. So AI won't account for tone, emotion in the exactly, right? And there's so many words where I was actually meeting my girlfriend's mom for the very first time, and we're trying to talk with these headphones. So I had this experience, right? And there were just so many instances where Turkish didn't translate well to English. And so the whole sentence almost didn't make sense, even though it was translated correctly, right?
Yeah. And this is why I love language so much.
It's so cool.
It's such a cool, fascinating thing. And I was actually talking to a good friend of mine last night about this book that I read when I was in high school. It's technically a collection of essays from a philosopher named George Herbert Mead. And the name of this collection of essays is called Mind, Self, and Society. And what he goes through is like a couple of major concepts that I remember. I literally haven't read this book in over 10 years, but I remember two different things. One of them being symbolic interactionism and then social behaviorism. And these two things being essentially trying to break down the fact that like symbolic interactionism being like, there are things that you can do that signal, right, meaning, okay? And that meaning may not necessarily directly translate to language, right? Like if you see a threat, for instance, it in your head, it may mean the word, like to me, I need to now run, right? But like your body and the movements that it makes is not language, but it has meaning. And so anyways, like that's like the level at which I find language fascinating is like there's things and concepts that in certain languages cannot be expressed.
No.
Right.
And so, anyways, that's where I get so fascinated with it. So you hit the nail on the head of why I look at it and care so much.
It's so cool, and it's really what makes us human. And the depth of it is what I find a game that's just so fun to acquire more. That's why I love reading, is to learn words I've never heard before and to try to incorporate them into my daily vocabulary, because it's another tool for connection. And then when you find someone else who also knows the word that not many other people know, it's like kind of like an insider's club. And unfortunately, the negative byproduct of that is that a lot of things that could be said a lot more simply, people deliberately flex their linguistic muscle to keep it a little bit more elitist, because they're like, I worked for this, I want to maintain it. That's very big within academia. But one thing that I wrote down while you were talking there was that, back to the whole alien stuff, which is that a lot of is that, stick with me here. So one constant from all alien stories are that they communicate telepathically, right? If we're following the natural progression of how language evolves, say with a tool like, say, AI translation, remember how I accidentally even said everything's going to blur to one language? Is that not what telepathy kind of is? If you can truly grasp the feeling state behind the words, because all language is just like energy, frequency, and vibration translated in a way that hopefully someone else can understand, but it's really the feeling state behind it. And so if we could transfer that with my head to you, we don't really need to talk. So maybe that's where we end up.
Wow.
You're like, this guy's crazy.
No. You've got a point there. I mean, thinking about Neuralink, like that's what it probably would end up looking like.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. And also, as much as we love language, it's an incredibly inefficient and flawed way to communicate. Right?
100%.
It's hard to conceptually grasp that when you've only thought about what you've thought about, but when you actually break it down in terms of what is the underlying goal I'm trying to achieve here, there are definitely better ways of doing that. We just don't have the technical aptitude to do it. I also think that human beings have a lot more spiritual abilities than we're privy to. Like, I do think that we could be a lot more connected to both each other. A lot like Professor Jiang actually uses the same thing. I'm quoting him so much because I've listened to like hundreds of hours of his lectures over the past few months. But he talked about how we didn't have the sophistication of language back in the day, but they were still able to execute these beautiful cave paintings because we almost communicated telepathically, maybe not in the literal sense for how we talk about communication today, but like, how do you know in a group setting what to do next without even talking? But they did it, right? So what was going on? What was the mechanism of exchange? What was the transfer mechanism to say like, oh, I drew the sun here, so you know to draw that here? They weren't talking, likely, right? So how did they know to do that?
Crazy stuff to think about, for sure.
What about Bigfoot?
Is language potentially less efficient?
Yes,
than
right.
Other forms. Yeah.
What about Bigfoot? I'm not a big Bigfoot guy. Have you looked into Bigfoot?
Where'd that come from? Is it just because you mentioned aliens and then
for sure
go to Bigfoot?
Yeah. I found smiling and laughter moves past language. Yes, Kevin, that's it, right? Because that's the feeling state that is universal, and that's ultimately what we're trying to use language to get to, right? It's how do you feel something, and that's kind of universal, which much like telepathy probably would become. But I love that, and yeah, Bigfoot, I'm not well versed. So if you have any sort of specific resources for how to become a Bigfoot person,
a Bigfooter.
Let me know. One thing I will say I don't know if Bigfoot's related to this, but what's that ranch called? There's this crazy ranch where a lot of things get seen. Skinwalker Ranch. Have you heard of that, Keith?
No.
Bro, Skinwalker Ranch is crazy, dude. So
I thought I was like pretty conspiratorial. I'm realizing I don't know anything when I talk to you, man.
Bro, because I'm very obsessive over learning shit. And because I was crippled for like 4 years, I had 4 years straight to just learn shit. And so I spent that on like marketing, crypto, conspiracies, like shit like that, because I couldn't walk, right? So I was just fucking locked in for like days on end.
Word.
So Skinwalker Ranch is a ranch in Utah where there's a ton of paranormal things that happen there. It actually was recently bought by someone. It transferred hands, but the original owner of it was Bigelow, Robert Bigelow. I can't remember his name. Yeah, I think it's Robert Bigelow. And so he is a very he made his money being, fact check all of this in case I get anything wrong, but I believe Bigelow made his money from being a defense contractor for America. And then he goes and buys this like very well-known extraterrestrial, like a lot of paranormal activity space happens here. And he went and bought that property. It's just super, super weird. Like if anybody would have information that would be accurate about this stuff, it'd be somebody who was a contractor for the government, right? Like that's kind of weird. And then he eventually sold it to this guy who now does a TV show. So if y'all want to see a TV show, it's probably all horse shit, but there is a Skinwalker Ranch TV show that's pretty well made.
Word up, man. Word up.
It's fun, man.
Where do we go from here, man?
Let's open it up to the chat before we wrap it up. Listen, this has been a long one, but it's been a lot of fun. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Since y'all are here live and you guys are the OGs here, feel free to open up the floor. Do you want us to talk about anything in particular? Is there a specific crypto you want to talk about? Any sort of news? Any sort of conspiracy? You let us know and we'll talk about it. Yes, that is where it comes. That is where it comes from. Yeah, so skinwalkers are supposedly Indians who sold their souls to the devil and can change shape to match animals. They're 100% possessed and evil. So it is very much connected to like First Nations or whatever the native people. And they do not mess with that land. Like they are very much respectful of do not touch Skinwalker Ranch. And so they don't even really think that, so some of them don't think it should be even owned. And so it's very much a pretty crazy site where a lot of things happen. There's a lot of things that are difficult to explain. And that's really where the name comes from. So great job there on that. But if y'all, do you have anything else before we wrap up today? And if you've yet to do so,
XRP Ripple questions. I know that's what brought a lot of people in here.
Yeah, 100%. And make sure to click the subscribe button if y'all haven't already and smash the like too. It helps us out so much. And we want to keep doing this for y'all every Tuesday and Thursday. And the more people that we get in here, the easier it is for us to do that. And also the more fun the conversations become because there's so many things we don't know that we can learn after. And yeah, that's the whole point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, everyone's being shy, man. It's so,
yeah, that's funny.
Are they stalled or approved by SEC? Recap. Do you know when the XRP ETFs are coming?
So here was the other thing about all that. Like some of these ETFs just got approved, even though the government is in shutdown. Right. So the SEC has like a limited staff and people are like, so how are these ETFs getting through? So what the speculation has been is that the SEC also released guidance a couple of months ago where they gave like a standardized format that issuers could use to actually get these things live much faster. So what people have been saying is that they must have used those standards. And that's why these ETFs are getting pushed. And by the way, that actually also answers that other question. I think that it was you that asked, or somebody that asked around like, why did they refile the ETFs? Well, maybe that was why, because they wanted to refile them with these new standards, new rules, to get it through faster.
Makes sense. Yeah. That definitely makes a ton of sense. So great question there. Did y'all have anything else? RLUSD supply on.
Okay, I know what this is about.
Do you want me to pop it up?
I mean, we can talk about that, Bobby. But RLUSD supply on Aave. So there are some ways to earn yield on RLUSD out there. Like I have not fully participated in it on Aave because at the time it was like the issue was that there was so much of it being borrowed that like as soon as you supply, it's going to get borrowed and you might not be able to get it back until there's more supply that gets added. Yeah, there's just so much demand for it. So I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. Like if you want to do that and you don't mind that, then like go for it. If you can even get it in, because it just feels like there's like friction around the fact that there's just way too much demand for this asset.
Yeah. That's super interesting. Yeah. Francis says, I'm here because of XRP. What up? How you doing? Welcome. We appreciate you. Definitely stick around. And then X here says, what would you guys say is being halted right now or affected by the government shutdown? You touched on that briefly. So I guess they're asking what in particular is being impacted most from a market's perspective from the shutdown.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, from the market's perspective, it's definitely an issue not getting the data.
Yes.
So I don't think we properly got this past month's NFP data, if I'm not incorrect. The jobs report, I don't think we got that. And then the CPI came out like a week and a half later. The PPI I don't think has come out yet. So whether it's week-long delays or just like indefinitely, I don't know when this data is coming. Obviously, that creates a big issue. I actually talked about this on my live yesterday when we were going through the federal funds rate decision with Jerome Powell, and what he said out loud was that like his analogy that he gave was, well, when you're driving in the fog, what do? You slow down, right? So you're having less opportunities to make decisions when you don't know exactly what the data is. And so that's definitely also going to play a role in what happens with interest rates moving forward and how the Fed moves.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely interconnected to all that. And one point that I wanted to mention, a correction from what I said earlier, and then I'll give the floor back to you, Keith, is that Robert Bigelow, the Skinwalker Ranch guy, he originally made his money from real estate and looks like hotels and stuff. And then he opened the aerospace company in 1998, just to clarify.
Cool. RD said she's got to run.
Bye,
Thank you
RD.
for stopping by. We will see you.
You're always awesome.
50 people in here. If you have not already liked and subscribed, do that. We're going to go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And if you have questions, bring it on.
You get them answered. Yeah, 100%. And you can sprint with a format like this where you can get access to information that can be specific. That's also one of the hardest things when it comes to education, is that it's always given without context that led to that being useful. Whereas you can come in here and get the specific responses back, whether it's from us or the people in the community, to sprint there, right? Whereas one of the most frustrating things, I'm sure you've had this too, Keith, where when you're trying to acquire information, it's just such a rigorous process because of that exact thing, right? There's no context. They just give you the information and then it's like, hey, but what about this? What about this? What about this? You can't ask the questions.
100%, man.
Do you think RLUSD will become a top stable coin?
Listen.
I'm listening.
Absolutely. Even its growth for where it's at. I mean, you got to think about it. It's got like 200 million plus in market cap in the first year. Like, it's hard to obviously compare it apples to apples because when Tether and USDC came out, like no one was using crypto. Like, so it's not really fair to compare it like that.
Completely.
But at the same time, like, that shows that there is real demand. Because also think about this, like, where are we using RLUSD at? We are not. So that means that this demand is coming from institutions.
Yeah, it's scary to think about.
So just saying.
Great point. Yeah, and Francis said, just subscribed. Welcome to the team. We appreciate having you here. Definitely tune back in every Tuesday and Thursday. Welcome. Yo, we appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you for sure.
Yeah, the most. Is there anything else that y'all want to chop it up on before we call it a day and we see y'all on Tuesday? Or should we wrap it here, Keith? What do you think?
What time frame? I'll just quickly respond to that. I'd give it another 5 years. Just
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. You heard it here first, folks. Well, then we'll wrap it here. What do we have going on Tuesday? Do we know what we're talking about yet?
I don't think so, man.
Okay. Well, actually, if you're here, why don't we provide a few suggestions or things we may want to talk about, and then based on your guys' feedback, we'll decide. So one is like the psychology of meme stocks / meme coins. We were talking about that quite a bit. Another topic we're discussing is, are the AI layoffs truly because of AI, or is that some other things largely driven by greed and poor decision making? And we also had some other ones. What else did we have, Keith?
AI slop is another one.
Yes. How does AI slop impact everything when the attention economy drives so much of what we do? We'll cap it there. So out of those three,
and then XRP stuff, we gotta like leave it for the audience. Like I mean, obviously, if we do that, they're all gonna say that. But
exactly, I don't think that's fair. We should probably space XRP stuff out like at least a week or two between each. But we will definitely be talking about XRP because I think we're not gonna have a choice not to. You know what I mean? Like that's gonna be too relevant to not. So out of those three topics, what do you guys want to see on Tuesday? Do you want to see the AI slop, how that impacts the internet? Do you want to see the truth behind the AI job losses, or do you want to see the psychology behind meme coins and meme stocks? Have you guys looked into BitTense or Tau? Yes, I have. Seems like an interesting crypto. I would say I agree with that, Ryan. It does seem like an interesting crypto.
It's an emphatic agreement right there, guys.
Thank you guys for the interaction from the live. Makes it great. Just don't get too big and forget to interact. We will always do everything we can to interact with y'all. It's the whole point why we're here. And producer Kurt is in the background. He'll always make sure that we do our best that we possibly can to interact with y'all. All right, we got to vote for AI slop.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
I also we're gonna start bringing in a quote for future episodes each, and I got one for this episode.
Oh yeah,
so
I don't have anything.
You're good. So this quote I think is incredibly timely and important. So I want you to pay attention to me right now. Common sense is like money and health. Once you have it, you have to work to keep it. Right? And that's incredibly important in a world where there is so many people fighting for your attention. what common sense is typically goes to whatever you've seen the most. And that's a very, very dangerous thing. So fight to maintain your common sense, just like you do the money you have and the health that you have, because without it, you're very easy to manipulate and you don't have much control of your own life. So that's from Matthew McConaughey. Shockingly.
Very cool.
So,
Very cool, man.
All right. Well, we got the only vote. If y'all don't chime in, it's going to be the slop episode. So if you want to see something other than that, chime in, because we only have one vote right now. So let's hear it. You got like 2 more minutes to cast your vote here. So give it to us. The 3 topics we discussed. What do you want to see? I'll repeat them one more time. We got AI slop. How does it impact the internet? The truth behind AI job loss, and the psychology of meme stocks and meme coins. Let's see the vote. Do not be shy.
So I might have a quote, because I was listening to Charlie Munger this morning, and he had some good stuff. He said, okay, yeah, this is a good one. All right, he's talking about how people are always craving more. And like, instead of looking at what you'll do with more, it's like, what could you do with to cut your expenses now? Okay. Because that's where the real opportunity lies. It's not a direct quote, but listen, the idea is, it's not what are you going to do when you have $5 million. It's like, what do you do with the $100,000 that you're making now? And how can you cut that in order to live a more stable life? The point that he was trying to make is that you need way less than you think you do to live a life of freedom and be able to build. So instead of trying to chase things and buy things, look at how you can have more time and freedom, and that's going to put you up where you need to be. So I said that way less intelligently than he did, but
no,
the idea still stands.
I think that was fantastic. And that's it too, right? Where we talked about the ability to create your own way out. And so there's so many things that are fighting you that make it seem like it's harder than it actually is. Right. One thing that we talked about before was like the growth of gambling. And this is very prevalent for young men. So if you're a young man and you deal with gambling, like, listen to me for a second. I want you to go into your gambling app and look at the amount of money that you've spent in gambling over the past few years. And then also compare that to your wealth that you have coming in, or like your income. A lot of people, they don't even consider what they're gambling, and they don't compare it to what their income is. And so it's ruling their life, and they think they're poor, but they're really just throwing away the money, because you think every weekend, $25, $50 isn't a big deal. If you were putting $25 into something that was either an appreciating asset or like putting that towards a business or acquiring skills, you so quickly would be in a situation where you don't have to struggle. Right? You don't have to worry about this stuff. There's so many things pulling your attention and your income in different ways, where if you think like what you just said, where could I sacrifice to do less? That actually may open the door to do way more in the pretty near future. They called me a gambler for investing in crypto. Yeah. So I guess I have a crippling gambling addiction. If crypto is gambling, then I am absolutely cooked.
and then the Max Grody said, living in an appliance box. Okay, that is an option, I guess. I don't even know what an appliance box is.
Does he mean like the literal box that like a fridge would come in?
Oh, okay, like a box that it came in.
I think so. But I think cutting back is always a good idea, because then you have more leverage and freedom to take more risks. And most people can never get out of the situation. Why are people on the hamster wheel? Why do people go into the rat race? It's because they never have time to get out of it, because they're constantly worried about the next thing they have to do, because they're worried about acquiring more, like you said. So if you are really obsessed over having less and enjoying life more, you can usually make better decisions too. So we've got a bunch of votes here. So I appreciate y'all. It looks like now it seems like it's almost like even between slop and job loss,
which I think I would like to do job loss, but hey.
Okay, there you go. The tiebreaker goes to Keith. So we will do. So blame Keith if you don't like that topic. It's not my fault. But I'm totally kidding. But job loss is what we'll cover next Tuesday, and then we're still going to cover all the topics we talked about. But if y'all are here and you're watching the recording, next time if you're here live, you could contribute to which episode we do next. So definitely another incentive to show up. And yeah, that's it. So he was saying a refrigerator box like on Skid Row. Okay.
Hey, it's an option. Listen.
It is.
Depends on your tolerance. What is your tolerance for freedom?
That's it. Truthfully. And Stella's YouTube says, why isn't that was hard, Keith? Why isn't economics and finance taught in public schools? that's a debate that you could go from a bunch of different angles on. And depending on where you sit in the conspiratorial spectrum, I think that would decide how you see it. I think it's probably a combination of that and just ignorance. So combination of
I was talking to Tyler Hill. You guys hopefully know him. He's a big crypto influencer, and like I was like, because I try to stay away from the conspiratorial look at that, but I was talking to him and I was just like, as I was talking to him, I was like, wait, but like, there's no way that you just don't talk about the most important thing in everyone's life.
It's crazy.
Like, you're just going to ignore that topic.
Yes.
Like, come on now. So, no, it has to be deliberate to some extent, guys. Like, let's be real.
I think it has to be deliberate. And when you look into also, Hollywood's a great place to go look at what do they want you to think, because the cost to create media back in the day was so absurdly expensive that there had to be counteractive and additional benefits for the people who had those kind of resources to even get media made in the first place. So like this is how they get you, right? Is that they hide propaganda amidst just genuine entertainment so that you're like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist if you think it like this, right? But it may not be as overt of like, oh, we need a movie made like this. It could be something as, okay, well, if you want this movie funded, we need to change this. We need to make this person afraid of money. We need to make them not understand this. We need to normalize promiscuity, right? Like all these little things that happen over time. And then eventually you don't even need to enforce it anymore, because all that the producers will look at the videos and movies that got funded and they'll say, oh, okay, what's the commonalities? I need to have this, this, and this in my movie. And then in turn, it becomes reality.
100%, man. I've always debated with myself on that, because like the music scene, especially rap music, is also like a big place where I think you can pretty much do the same thing and like look at it the same way.
Totally.
It's like eventually I started to really hear some of the stuff that was being said by some of these really mainstream artists. Travis Scott has a song called "Stop Trying to Be God," and he kind of like breaks down in that song. It sounds crazy, but he actually really says some super profound stuff. And one day it hit me and I was like, oh snap. Like he's kind of telling us like what the industry is doing and like what it's all about. And one of the lines is like, diamonds are the wife of life. He's basically telling you what it is that they want you to believe, which is in materialism. And it's a really, really fascinating piece of art when you take that into effect.
Yeah, there's another person, obviously, who tries to speak on things. He's very controversial because of how he does it, Kanye. But he said like similar things in terms of the materialism being at the forefront of what gets people to continue on this race and not asking questions, because you don't have time to ask questions when you're trying to survive. But what I will say is that for anybody who says like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, if you actually take the time to find the connections and the blueprints that they're all running, it's like, there's no way it's a coincidence. It's got to be orchestrated. They're running this same playbook, right? It's all around shame. It's around consumerism. It's around this, how do I phrase this? Like, there's a lot of blackmail and extortion, right? There's a ton of this stuff where they bond together through that. And again, I'm going to reference Professor Jang. Go watch his Secret Society series, and you'll see that when you do that, you'll be like, they literally are running the same script. So, Ben, that's a great point. I worked in TV for 10 years, the 90s, and it was driven by a split between social programming and entertainment. Exactly, right? I'm so lucky that I had my experience with growing a social media channel and like seeing how this whole thing works, because I saw this happen on a micro scale, and it's just like, oh, this so obviously would have happened on a macro scale. It's the same sort of thing playing out, and I just got to witness it at a far smaller thing. But the people follow the money, and when you need the money, people will bend and bow to whatever they're told to if it means they get that money, because they understand that in the system that we've built, the money comes power. With money comes love in a lot of ways. It's super messed up. It should never be like that, but especially as a man. Like, and women aren't immune to this either. It just comes in different ways, and there's different forces and different pressure points, but it's a crazy thing to do. So everyone, we've already popped this up, everyone in big biz of film/TV would also sheepdog each other. It was frustrating. Everything was homogenized. I don't know what sheepdogging means.
Me neither.
But it's crazy that, and that's why a lot of people say that most of the people who really reach mainstream relevance, it's because they conformed to what these secret societies wanted done, essentially, and that those that didn't, they got their one-hit wonder and then they were kicked out of the game. The Art of Personal Voice is a lost film. That is exactly what Sir Keith does. Finds what is written in plain sight concerning money and exposes the truth in simple manner. Absolutely, that's what Keith does. Keith,
Am I Sir Keith?
Are you Sir Keith?
I think you are. Knighted? Have I been knighted by the United Kingdom?
You deserve it, dude. But yeah, that's exactly it. And that's why I gravitated to your stuff so much, because I think that's at the core of everything that needs to be done. And I tried to do the same thing with social media stuff like 8-7 years ago. And that's why I gravitated towards your stuff so much. So yeah, Keith is the best knight around. Sheepdogging is they corralled each other, like put in a corral each other, and made them conform to expectations of vague influences in the business. Got it. Yeah, it doesn't take much. Like social pressure is a very effective mechanism for control, right? Because it's all tied together. And when human beings are in these positions where they're making the decisions over your entire livelihood, like it's a very slippery slope of what that can do to a person who doesn't have the best intention. Hello from Toronto. What up, Cody? How you living? I'm also in Toronto. Let's Cody Foxwell. That's my man. I love that guy. Cody, how are you, man? I appreciate you jumping in here, and happy to have you here in Toronto. Government coming back by next week. ETFs coming soon. Honda says. Yeah, we will see. I mean,
it's definitely all coming. The fact that we got some released during the shutdown says that, yeah, we're about to get them all.
What up, Tech Nerd +1? Are you speaking in code, or what's going on there? And
you've been here before, so it's not that you just subscribed. I thought that might have been it, but unless you hadn't subscribed until now, and that'd be crazy, really messed up.
But that's why we keep saying this, right? Because a lot of people who aren't creators are like, why do they tell us to do this so often? It's like, because you guys have been conditioned to just not do it, right? Because you get so inundated with things coming at you that you don't think there's any sort of value in clicking the subscribe button, which is what we've tried to do the opposite of, is deliberately safeguard this subscription and this bell so that it actually has value, right? Why did you subscribe to shit back in the days? Because I wanted this and it meant that. Now, when you subscribe to a channel, it's like, well, maybe see it, I maybe won't. Who knows? The algorithm will decide for me, right? We want to shift that and take the power back to you, where we have a clips channel for the shorter stuff, but this will only ever be live streams.
Yeah. So in short, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already.
100%. So Honda here says we have 20 bullish catalysts, pressure cooker type B. That's the thing, man. Like all of us who are being skeptical or negative, it's very easy to get like that, especially when the consensus on platforms like X is very negative. But these things can change very, very quickly. I get the feeling you want us to subscribe. Where would you get that from? That's crazy. I've never. Yeah, that's insane, man. Gaslighting. But yeah, I think it'll be a very fun rest of the year. And I think that this show will grow a lot because of the things we're talking about. So definitely, we appreciate you guys being the early supporters of this, and you guys will play a role in terms of shaping the content and stuff too. You got this one, Keith?
I think we're going to talk about that on Tuesday.
True. That is true. All right.
So there's also the government layoffs as well, right? Like that's another thing. I was going to make a video about this, but I don't have the way to do this fast enough. But it was like, what's the real reason for the shutdown? Because think about it. Trump was talking about, and I'm not saying he can create the shutdown, let's be clear. But he's been trying to lay off employees the whole year. So now all of a sudden he has a way to do it, right? Through these shutdowns.
True.
So anyways, just saying,
Yeah, it's also a way to highlight or try to bring to the forefront that less is needed, right? Because the whole Doge thing, that's what they were trying to do, right? Is how everything was inefficient. And so, yeah, definitely an opportunity to do more of that. Most people on Twitter are degen gamblers using 1000x leverage, very bearish sentiment on there. Yeah, of course. And that's a really good point of understanding the psychology of the people who are there that are talking. And a lot of people have been far too greedy there. And I don't even think it's a dangerous place to spend a lot of time on X, because I think a lot of people there are not really who's going to. Why are you laughing?
Just put that and frame it on your wall.
It is, because most of the people there that even seem like they're credible, they don't know anything. So yeah, I think things will change quickly. And I think that if you've been holding on to stuff and you've not seen price go up, I personally think over the coming months, you'll be in for a good time.
90% bots. It's another topic we'll definitely be
yeah, we'll be talking about that in a future episode. But This one's been going on for 2.5 hours now, Keith. Should we wrap it here?
I think we gotta wrap it up. It's so cool that you guys are still here, though. That's awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all so much. We will see y'all at Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. We're going to be talking about AI job loss and the truth behind it. So definitely tune in. You won't want to miss that.
Absolutely. We'll see y'all then. And until then, peace.
Peace.